All right, we will now open the June 28th, 2022 open session meeting of the Ayer Planning Board. First, the agenda, I may have a motion to approve.
Move to approve the agenda.
Seconded.
Okay, discussion. I believe that we have we're not going to have the June 14th minutes today, right?
No.
Jeff, okay, so that's going to be deferred to the next meeting. Any other questions about the agenda? No further discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Yes.
Nay? The ayes have it, it is approved. Mark, I believe that there are no covenant of bond releases to discuss.
Correct.
So we can move to the Pleasant Street Extension Guardrail. Calvin, please step up.
Thank you. Well, before you is the set of plans that was originally on the plan. Dan has got them. To the best of our knowledge, he's approved them. There's just some question. The supply chain is still out 3 to 4 weeks. We are trying to get on the August deadline for town meeting approval in the fall, which is going to be tight. And there's some question, so we're ready to go. And there's some questions if we really need it on the north side because the slope is not there. It's maybe 6 sections, maybe 7. So we're working on that question if it's needed on the outside of the cul-de-sac on the exterior
I see what you're
perimeter.
saying.
Yeah,
Right.
the complete circle will be done.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I have to recuse myself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank God.
Nathan? No? Julie, Jeff?
Thank you.
We're almost done. Just any questions from the abutters? Yes, please, come
No,
on.
none.
So the detail you handed us, it's the wood railing, just to be clear, this is what is being installed?
Yep.
Yeah.
All the existing steel posts are
Yep.
getting removed?
Yep. On the circle.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Mark, do we need to take a vote or what-
I don't believe so. because,
Finding?
It's
Oh,
on
I'm
you.
sorry, there's one more comment. Yes, sir.
You say around the circle, what about on the outside of the circle?
Well, that will come up, but we're questioning if that's even needed because the slope on the other side of the railing is really not a slope anymore.
Okay, but if it is needed,
It would be the same.
okay. I mean, it will be the same as the wooden one?
Yep. Yes.
I would say, if someone wants to make a motion to accept the guardrail construction detail as submitted to the,
But I want to give it a shot, Mark, if you don't mind,
Sure.
Mr. Chair.
Please do.
Move to accept the construction detail from GPR dated 6/16/22, job number 111099B. I'll give this to you in a minute, Heather, so you can have it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. That outlines the wooden post and wooden guardrail to be used in replacement on the circle at Pleasant Street Extension.
Seconded.
We have a forward and second. Any discussion? All in
Oh.
favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Chair votes aye. One, no nays, one abstention. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, everyone who
Thank you.
showed up to discuss
Good
this.
luck to these folks. Don't give in.
what was the it'll take 1 minute to get the USB
You can have that.
from these guys. 'Cause they-
I have a copy.
I want to load it so it goes in.
So everyone is here for Stratton Hill. We're going to begin that in a moment. Our town planner is going to load some important information, the presentation from the applicant, so we can all see it on the television.
Great. Subdivision and this plan around there. Yep.
And then once that's loaded, Mark, could you put up that process?
Right,
presentation?
yeah, just to make sure this is, I'll bring up the other one.
You don't need any motion. The hearing's open. You don't need a continuance or anything like that, do we?
Oh, no, this is a new one. Yeah.
Sorry?
I said we don't need to open anything. It's already open, right?
When? This is the first thing.
It is the first
You
one.
want both of these open?
This is the
Yeah, that's the top one.
Yeah, the top one first.
All right, sure.
Where would you like us, at the end of the table or standing over here?
Hey, Jonathan?
Yeah,
I was
that
still
would
confused
that
by-
would be fine.
I was still confused by the process, even if it's for 5 years. I always ask Mark.
So I believe the first part of the process is to accept the plan.
We got a few things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
see
it.
it, yeah.
First, okay, now I'm just getting everything open here. So we can go into their presentation. Possible. All right, so I'm gonna minimize that and open up what we have
Oh, great.
there. Whoops.
Mr. Chair, if I may, while you're doing that?
Yes,
When
sir.
the proponents speak, one of the things I noticed, having watched the video of the last meeting, is it's very quite difficult to hear people out there. So if we can ask people to approach the table when they speak, like
Yes.
when Mr. Collins speaks, it would be very helpful.
Well said, thank you.
Just it gets muffled on the.
It does.
Yeah, so it's hard to.
Okay, I just want to take a couple minutes just to explain how this is going to work. First, we as a board have to formally accept the plan. It doesn't mean we approve it. It means that the town plan has reviewed it, has all the pieces necessary to be acceptable as a plan. We vote to accept it so we can begin the discussions on the preliminary plan. Once that's done, we're going to turn our attention to the applicant. Applicant gets to tell his story about what it is they're doing. After that, we have a presentation from the town planner reviewing some of the historical background and context behind the project and bringing us up to date and describing in more thoroughly the steps that need to be done in this preliminary process for the preliminary plan and then for the definitive plan. Once that's once the town planner has given his presentation, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, and then we're going to open it up to the audience, the community, to bring their questions. We have a number of things we need to consider, including which peer review studies we need to conduct and negotiate what they should be and how they should be done. There may be there's some waivers on the table that we need to discuss, and there are other issues, layout, etc. This is a long process. We're not going to get all through this tonight. This is I just laid out there. Expectations. This is just the beginning. Just the beginning. So please, if something didn't come up tonight, don't be alarmed. I mean, we just haven't gotten there yet. The keyword is yet. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, could you make a distinction between preliminary and detailed? Just so
Yes.
that we set like the level of discussion that we're gonna have in a preliminary.
I
When-
can
Or you're
cover
gonna
that. I'll be
Oh,
covering
okay,
that.
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, with that done, I'd like to, yes.
Yeah, plan acceptance is next.
Yes, and what do we need to do for the plan acceptance?
Okay, well, just basically in everybody's packet, also that was up on the website, there's the checklist, which is actually from the subdivision regulations.
Yeah.
And for preliminary plans, there's a whole bunch of items. And you can see my check for everything that was done. One thing I should note is that because this is a preliminary plan, we don't have formal abutter notification. So somehow that got within that item is a list, whereas an item in the list of the preliminary plan checklist, but it really adheres to the definitive plan process. So, you know, there are a few things that I think could have been done a little bit better. We'll get to the yield plan a bit later. But that said, you know, as far as I can tell, the plan is very complete. It's much more complete than most preliminary plans we see, probably because they had a chance to do a definitive last year. So I'll take any questions about that. Yes,
Yes, Ken.
Mark, for a point of clarification,
yes.
the requirements for preliminary subdivision plan, which is your F, okay, section,
Correct.
and you referred to the fact that it might require about a notification, but I think what you're referring to is what you highlighted, K, right?
Okay.
That simply means those names are supposed to be on the plan. These are requirements of the plan itself, not of the process. You concur? The names of all the butters are determined. So it isn't on the plan. So
We've
this
done-
is a
yeah.
requirement of
F.
the plan.
Yeah.
This is a requirement of the plan. It's on the plan. I think you might have misconstrued it as that it was a requirement
Oh,
to notify the
yeah.
butters.
Ah, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's really a plan requirement.
Well, we have an abutter list from,
So I'm,
The previous
I believe
iteration.
that
Yeah.
this is complete, is what I'm getting at.
oh,
Because it does contain those names on the plan.
So it is complete?
well, here, do you want to check? numbers on the plan sheet, Ken?
Yeah, the names are on the plan, they've been on the definitive plans before. and-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you go to the
Well,
grading plan.
Yeah.
It's
And
there.
they're not on the plan itself, but
Yeah,
we did receive that.
They're on the grading plan.
We'll get there. Here's the thing way up.
Yeah, I think when you have a lot that's a button.
Yeah, your butter's lot name is there.
Oh, they're right there.
It's not it's not, you may be looking for a list, it's probably not on a list.
No, they're just on the.
It's notified, it just lands on the lots that are,
Right.
Yeah.
so it looks to me like that.
Chair acknowledges Jessica Gino.
Just going to say that it's a little bit hard to hear in the back of the room, so if people could,
Speak up.
and this is true for me too when I'm in that seat, but speak up as much as you can.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just saying we have a complete set of plans.
All right, yeah, yeah.
I'll make a, if it's appropriate,
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion that the planning board accept the plan submitted, preliminary plan submitted for Stratton Hill.
We have a second?
Seconded.
Discussion. No discussion, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Chair says aye, no nays, no abstentions. Oops. Plan is accepted.
Now I need to minimize this so that they can give their. Okay, that's the next step. So,
Where
gentlemen,
would you like us?
yeah, right up front.
Yeah.
You can use this to navigate around the plan a little bit with the
I'll let
cursor. See
Stan
that?
do
See
that.
that cursor?
Yeah.
So if you want to point out,
Hey Nathan, bring that microphone back.
Yeah.
The end of the table's mic.
It's good.
We did that
Oh,
last
I
week,
have
trouble with Barry.
Yeah. Careful, Barry's here. Thank you, Barry.
Well, good evening. This site will be vaguely familiar to virtually all of you. It's similar, the site is the same, but the plan is similar to something we discussed over the last year and a half or so. But it occurred to us that perhaps it's a good idea sometimes to pull something back, rethink it a little bit. We had received many very valuable comments, good input in the conversations we had had with the board and abutters previously. So we incorporated those, and we thought it would be a worthwhile thing to give this a fresh start. I wanted to start with this plan that is in front of you on the screen, because it actually speaks to what Mr. Moulton's intent was when he purchased this property. So this area that's outlined, which is roughly 700 acres, is the former Lone Star Sandville property that Mr. Moulton purchased in 1998. It encompasses land in both Groton and Ayer. As you can see, Groton is up to the top, Ayer is down here to the lower left. Just for orientation purposes, the upper right-hand side there is 119 in Groton. Down below here shows the frontage on Wright Road. So this is approximately 700 acres that my client purchased with the intent of doing a very limited development in order to pay for the property, in order to preserve the better part of it. The land that you see indicated as lots on the upper right-hand side is the development in Groton, which was 38 conventional lots, 14 affordable units, and 24 over 55 units. The lots down that you see on the lower left-hand corner are the lots that were approved on the subdivision in 2005 in Ayer, which again is 35 lots on this side. The land in between on the Groton side is 437 acres that was gifted to the Massachusetts Audubon Society. The land down below the Ayer town line, the additional 90 acres there, as shown on the 2005 plan, was intended to be gifted to either the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife or the town of Ayer. Now, if we could go to I think it's the next one on the presentation, forgive
How do I
me.
get to the next page? Oh. Next page. Oh, I see, I can just go up top, okay.
Yeah.
So if we could go to the one,
The one that shows the approval.
this, no, if we could go to this. So this plan here shows just the land and air. The land that is slightly darker tan is, including the land that is shown in blue, is the land that was occupied by lots on the plan that was approved in 2005. The lighter tan is the roughly 90 acres that would have been gifted as a result of the construction of that plan. We superimposed what is before the board with the preliminary plan for 2022 onto that so that you could see that the land area that is proposed to be occupied by lots, which takes up 18.8 acres, I believe, in contrast to 60 acres, speaks to the open space bylaw. What we wanted to do, once we had the opportunity to do it, because we didn't have the opportunity in 2005, the zoning wasn't there, was to compress this as much as possible. So with this plan, 35 lots, 35, yes, occupy 18.1 acres, and we're able to have 131.9 acres that would be open space that I believe should be probably gifted to the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife or to the town of Ayer, whatever the board's pleasure would be. Now, a couple of things that we did on this plan, which we discussed last time we had discussions with the board, made a couple of changes. So we've incorporated 4 affordable units, which would be in 2 duplex units. I don't,
So you can put it in presentation mode.
Click that, make it, see if you can make it bigger.
The widescreen, like see the square with the 2 arrows? No, no.
It's a regular PDF, you should,
That's PDF, not PowerPoint.
yeah.
Well,
you try the plus sign.
There's a plus sign at the
The
top.
plus sign.
Right.
Hit the plus sign a couple times.
There
you go.
That's what I'm
Okay.
looking for, yeah.
Yep.
So let's move over so that we can see Wright Road. So of these 35 lots, 2 lots would be occupied by 4 affordable units, would construct 2 duplexes, which would add to the town's affordable housing stock. We've also incorporated an area that could serve as a trail entrance off of the subdivision road, and I believe you also designated an area so that residents could actually park,
Parking area.
a parking area, so that people that wanted to enjoy the 131 acres would be able to drive up there. We also, we listened to a lot of the discussion that we had last time. I know that the desire was there to have all of the development be located east of the power lines. And this is a compromise, but I think it's a worthwhile compromise. You'll notice there were no lots on the northerly side of the subdivision road. And that's so that,
East,
yeah,
north on the plan, but east in reality.
yeah, I'm confused with the directions, but that side of the subdivision road, there were no lots. Because we thought it would be a nice thing for the shoreline. I think I've called it westerly or southerly, I'm not sure what it is. But the shoreline that my client owns, that should be in the public domain. So we liked the idea that one would enter the site and all of the land on the right would be undeveloped all the way to the shore, which would be a very nice amenity for people now, but also for future generations. We also really felt kind of strongly that we should minimize impacts to the extent possible on the existing neighborhood. And so we've kept development at least 200 feet away from Wright Road. That would be not only in the public domain, but would stay in a natural wooded state. And the only evidence of the subdivision, as one drove down the street, would be the subdivision road. And the way it's actually configured, I don't think you'd actually see any of the houses. So that was intended to be an aesthetic component that we felt it would be a worthwhile thing to preserve. Now, we did provide this time a full traffic analysis by Vanessa Associates, which the board will perhaps have a peer review done on, but they had come to the conclusion that the road network that serves this neighborhood will not have an impact to the level of service that it currently enjoys. And the numbers are such, and the road network is such, that I think that's very, very defensible. We've also provided a conservation analysis, which I know you'll get input from the Conservation Commission after they've had a chance to review it. And we want to acknowledge, I remember last time there was a great deal of discussion, more with, I think, the commission than with the planning board, on the gradations of quality that the land has. And we certainly want to acknowledge that all of this property is of the highest quality as far as its conservation value. This is part of an enormous site that, through an accident of history, did not get developed in both towns. And that's its principal value. This is a very significant property. The open space that will be gifted is of more significance than the land closer to Wright Road, primarily because after the subdivision was approved back in 2005, the land was cleared and roughed in. So the land that would be occupied by the homes under this development has already been roughed in. The utilities are there, and it has been worked over. As you get into the site, I don't know if that 131 acres that abuts the Audubon's site was ever dealt with by anybody. It does not appear that it was. The different analyses that we had done 20 years ago on the overall site seem to indicate that one of the unique things about this entire 700-acre property was the fact that it had remained pretty much untouched. There had been some stuff that had gone on over near Wright Road. There had been some stuff that had gone on near 119. But the interior of the site, which I think Lone Star bought to quarry, and they just never got around to do it, pretty much stayed untouched, and has value by virtue of that. There are a number of different ecosystems that are unique to each other, that are separated by topographic features that really are worthy of preservation. I do believe that the plan that is before the board at this point really does speak to your bylaw, and if you look in the preamble of the open space bylaw and the motivations that generated that bylaw, one is supposed to analyze the site, determine what should be preserved, and then trade off of what can be developed in order to preserve that. Now, an interesting thing about this property, as I was going through it, is that, you know, the plan in 2005 actually spoke to those goals too. This was a limited development project from day one. 35 lots occupying roughly 60 acres, gifting 90. This really speaks in a much clearer, much better way to the bylaw, and it's a very good solution. As part of the analysis, and I've given it to you in the little treatise that I wrote, which is a cure for insomnia, so I recommend it highly. We did look at alternate...
I'm sorry, did you say insomnia or
insomnia? Insomnia. So if you can't sleep, get out my stuff. But it's a worthwhile thing to look at other design alternatives that one could occur. One is the 35 lots that was approved years ago. It's not a bad development, but this is much better. If you actually stay within the envelope of that darker tan, the 60 acres that was going to be disturbed by virtue of that development, and apply your density calculations under the new bylaw, you could actually have 87 units on this property, which really would have a significant impact on this neighborhood. This is a nice, quiet neighborhood. It'll be a little less quiet with 35 new neighbors, but considerably less of an impact than one would have with 87. If you actually look at the density, again, just staying within the footprint of that 2005 development, the density that would be allowable with a 40B development, which I don't think would work well on this site, you could have 140 units there. I mean, that would be absolutely ludicrous. The one thing that really struck me is if you looked at the whole site, and I don't think you could physically fit this, and applied the density calculation under the open space bylaw, I think it was 187, which I don't think you could physically fit. But we wanted to stay within the confines of that darker tan area, because we want to see that area closer to Audubon set aside. Now, we did request 3 waivers, and I actually want to talk to the board about a 4th waiver that perhaps I should request formally. We did a request for a waiver of providing a landscape plan, because we'll provide a detailed one at the definitive plan stage. That would include the entrance, which is a boulevard-style entrance, but also I think there may well need to be some street trees that should be incorporated, and also near where the parking area would be that we would provide for the open space. Perhaps it would be a good idea to have something there. But I think that would be good at the definitive.
Of the, what was the second entrance?
That's correct, yes.
Where the trailer is now?
Yeah,
That
we would
get
need to
restored.
provide something there. But we were suggesting that that would be better done at the definitive plan stage. Another one that's a minor sort of thing that we requested, the regulations require that you stripe the roads and that you show that on the plan. I don't know that this ought to be striped. I think that adds a very urban feel. If the board wanted it striped, we're happy to do that, but we requested a waiver. Test hole data, the regulation requires test hole data throughout the site, it seems to me. We provided test hole data for the areas that would be occupied by the drainage system, which I think is actually what you need to see. The waiver that I didn't request in writing, but that I'm more than happy to, is whether this should be considered a single access or not. So this is a boulevard entrance, which some communities don't view as a single access. The plan that was approved 15 years ago had a double-barreled access. It was a big U.
Mr. Collins, for the good of everyone here, could you explain what a boulevard entrance means?
That's and 2 areas of pavement separated by a planting area.
What's the name of the off of Groton Harvard Road? What's at the top?
Autumn Ridge.
Autumn Ridge.
Yes,
example,
they
right?
have one.
So like Autumn Ridge.
We thought that would be a worthwhile thing here rather than the second entrance. The second entrance, first of all, adds impact to the neighborhood visually. It also increases disturbed area unnecessarily. The principal reason for having a second entrance is for public safety purposes. I believe a boulevard entrance should accomplish the same thing while minimizing the site disruption and trying also better handling runoff. I'll put it in the form of a waiver, but we didn't request a waiver because some communities consider a boulevard entrance a double access. So we would like feedback on that. That having been said, I think That's everything that I was planning on saying. Did I leave anything out that you can think
I
of?
don't think so.
Um,
We can maybe get to a better picture of the boulevard entrance. You can see it here. There would be one way in and one way out, separated by a planting island there, which the previous plan had a second entrance that came all the way down through here.
Yeah.
And we just felt that's an additional pavement and runoff that we don't need, and it minimizes what goes to this lower basin. We can capture it before it gets into that lower basin, which I know has had maintenance problems and hasn't worked well. So we're minimizing the runoff that we're trying to put into that basin by eliminating that second entrance.
So I believe that was everything that I wanted to say. I can, certainly both of us can answer questions.
And we will.
Yeah, I'm
Not
sure you
immediately,
will.
But not immediately, not immediately. So thank you very much for the presentation, and I want to give our, acknowledge our town planner so he can show us his presentation.
Keep this up. Minimize. Is that the one I want? Yeah. Okay, my name is Mark Archambault, the town planner here. And what I'd like to do is just briefly talk about the preliminary plan process before getting into my initial comments about the proposed preliminary plan itself. First of all, preliminary plans, according to Massachusetts state law, are an optional
Mark,
process,
Can
though.
we put this in presentation mode, just so everyone
Oh,
can see
yes,
your wonderful
yes.
words
Oh,
a little
thank you.
better? No, these won't put
Perfect.
us to sleep.
Yeah.
We're gonna stay awake for this.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. So it's highly recommended because
Yeah.
there are a lot of design details that you can work out without going to full engineering. Once you go to full engineering, it's very expensive. It's hard to make changes. So this is the preliminary plan allows the planning board, the applicant, to work out the details of the subdivision without going through all of the engineering details. So by the statute, Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81S, planning boards have 45 days from the date of submittal to render a decision on a plan. Though in this case, the applicant and the planning board can agree on an extension. And the applicant has agreed to give the planning board an upfront extension until the end of August to consider this, which is very much appreciated since they submitted their application on June 9th, which was a few weeks ago. So we've lost a few weeks, so to speak. So we're getting that on the other side, which is very nice. According to the statute, the Board of Health also has a role in reviewing this and getting comments from the planning board. That's probably because back when these statutes were written, a lot of towns in Massachusetts were totally reliant on wells and septic systems. And so the Board of Health takes a very close look at that. So the planning board action after preliminary plan review at the end of this process is to either approve, which means basically approving as submitted, approve with modifications, or disapproving a preliminary plan. Also, it should be noted the planning board's decision is non-binding as far as what ends up in the definitive plan, though it makes sense that the board and the applicant would follow upon whatever is approved for a preliminary plan, because why start from scratch again? And that's the whole purpose of this process. But I think the state made it non-binding because, issues can come up, and certainly technical issues of engineering might come up in the definitive plan stage that were not anticipated earlier. But one of the key benefits for applicants in submitting a preliminary plan is they get some vesting from the zoning. So if they submit a preliminary plan followed within 7 months by a definitive plan application, the zoning is frozen for a period of 8 years. So, if we change the lot size to 100,000 square feet, from what it is now, it wouldn't affect them. So. Ken's smiling. It's a good smile. All right. Next.
That's it?
No, no, just a few more. So by the end of this process, certainly not by the end of tonight, by the end of the process, the following plan parameters should be decided on, or in cases where they cannot be totally resolved, we should have sort of a pathway to resolution at the definitive plan stage. So you're talking about the road length and the configuration. The waiver for the road length, which I'll describe later, may come into play for this. The number of building lots and the area and configuration of the open space is something that is very apt to be discussed at this level. The board should also give a sense of the board on the applicable waivers for the subdivision regulations. So the applicant is charged with identifying the waivers, and the board needs to discuss any waivers that may have been missed with the applicant so that the final list of waivers needed is decided. But the planning board cannot vote on granting the waivers at the preliminary plan stage. Instead, that comes at the definitive plan stage. And I check with council on that.
I just want to underline that, so
Yeah.
make sure everyone heard that. We can't vote on the waivers yet. That's part of the definitive plan stage. But we can at least give the applicant some sense of where we stand.
Yep. Also, we should discuss any peer review studies that would be needed. The applicant has alluded to a traffic study. We definitely will be doing that. I highly recommend we do a peer review of that. Also, we will need a consulting engineer to assist the planning board with this project since DPW is in transition. So we'll be looking to do that as well. We want to identify any other state and local level permits that are needed. And one very important point, this is really applicable for Ayer since we have this in our bylaw. Since this is an open space residential development type subdivision where you have to have 50% open space, 50% of the entire tract that's in that one ownership needs to be preserved as open space. The Conservation Commission has a key role in this process in looking at the land and getting their conservation recommendations to the planning board so that the planning board can make conservation findings about what land is best suited for preservation versus what is best suited for development. So that is something that is sort of tangential, I mean not tangential, concurrent with the process that we have. Yeah.
This is
It's
parallel
not-
and concurrent.
Right. All right, so I'm going to get now just to a few of my initial comments here. This is a screen capture from Mr. Mapper, our local GIS program. And when I first came to town, before I physically knew what Ayer was about, I looked at Mr. Mapper and I saw this triangle and I said, wow, that's kind of interesting. And I thought, first thing that came to mind was like the Bermuda Triangle. It's like, you know, any planes that fly over here will disappear and that sort of thing. But,
Just subdivision plans.
right,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
right. But, you know, and then, you know, I was like, wow, look at all that forest. You know, isn't that great? So, you know, my initial thinking, even before I knew about David Moulton or any of these old plants, it's like, wow, wouldn't it be great if all the land within that triangle was forest and, you know, could be preserved in a natural state? Because, you know, anybody who is environmentally cognizant knows that large forest tracts are becoming both more rare and they also provide wildlife habitat for species that don't do as well next to human disturbance. So that's something that sort of jumped out at me. And, you know, I'll note that...
Wait, you can't leave us on tenterhooks. So what is that track? Just, I know almost
a
everyone
triangle.
knows what that is, but just out loud, what are these lines?
Oh, these are the power lines.
They're the power lines.
The power line
Yes,
easements.
right. There you
Yeah,
go.
power lines, yes. Thank you.
And the big
So-
bold line is Groton versus
Right, this
Ayer.
is the town line between Ayer on this side and to the north, Groton. So what you see here, and this is probably not up to date on the Groton side because I think the subdivision has been built out here. They were able to stay northeast, and that's north is directly north here, so northeast of the power lines on the Groton side. So what you see here, I think some of this as well as all of this is what is in the Rocky Hill wildlife sanctuary.
That's correct,
For
yeah.
Mass Audubon. So that's excellent. You know, so my first observation was, wouldn't it be nice if, you know, I think from an ecological standpoint only, it would be ideal if all development could stay south of the power lines in Ayer. But you see there are a few incursions to the north associated with this development here, and there's a little bit of stuff that the gun club does, but you know, basically the area north of the power lines is pretty much untouched. So that's something that, you know, I think we all express interest and concern. So I'll just mention that. That said, I believe that this new plan is superior to what they presented to us last year. They have pulled the lots to the south. They have reduced the envelope that would be needed for disturbance. And as far as I can tell, most, if not all, of the area that would need to be disturbed in construction is within that area that's already been disturbed. So that's, you know, that's a big plus. And that's the key point. As far as their application materials, they did provide a yield plan, but the yield plan, I should mention, should be based on the underlying zoning. So it's meant to show what you could get in a conventional subdivision if you were dividing it with 40,000 square foot lots and 100 feet of frontage. In your yield plan, you showed smaller lots around the subdivision road.
Yeah, so we can,
Yeah, so,
I think the previously approved subdivision could act as our yield plan, because that has 35 lots, and we're just trying to do 35 lots.
well, we can,
We can work that out.
we'll work
with
that
you,
out.
Mark.
So of course, and this is something that won't become a surprise, you know, I was concerned about, you know, the subdivision road having only one point of access from Wright Road. The fire department will probably say something there. Also, I believe that there are two waivers that were not identified in the application package. First is the maximum length of a dead-end road, which is now 650 feet, and the configuration of the turnaround. Basically, if somebody was proposing a new subdivision road, there's a criteria for the cul-de-sac and or other sort of turnaround. So I know we're dealing with a prior plan where the road was roughed in before, and it may make sense to have that loop retained, you know, but, you know, I just wanted to mention that technically. And one thing too that occurred to me is I couldn't find any record from 2004 of granting of a waiver for the dead-end road length back then, which I believe was.
well, that was a
500
double
feet.
access, so it was
Oh,
not a
it's not?
dead-end road. It was not considered a
Oh.
dead-end road at that time in
Oh.
any
Next to a
event.
dead-end road, but it's,
Yeah,
it
All right.
itself is not the dead end.
Okay.
Is that how that worked?
yeah, I believe
It's
so.
not really logical.
Yeah, but it is how it kind of works.
But
yeah.
I wasn't at the table
Yeah,
then.
that's right.
All right, well, we can, we'll come back to that. So I, you know, that's something that just jumped out at me. And the last thing that I'll mention here, my initial observations, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who want to speak, is that the traffic study, you know, is you know, quite good, but you know, it's dealing with, you know, the traffic counts, turning movements, traffic projections in the future, but I don't think it fully addresses sort of the issues related to the entire road network that we may have a concern about. So that's why we would do a peer review on that. And you know, that's all I have to open.
Thank you, Mark. Now we turn to the board for comments and questions. Who'd like to go first?
I'd like to go last.
Mr. Diskin would like to go. Nathan. Well, the chair recognizes Nathan.
This is more a follow-up to Mark's, just a wrap up on Mark's comments. You mentioned the preliminary design, there's a 45-day initial period.
Right.
Just for information, the detailed design review can occur up to 7 months beyond. Then what is the initial number of days
For
for
the
the review?
definitive plan
The
stage?
definitive, sorry. Yeah.
When the applicant, as in this case, has submitted a preliminary plan, assuming it goes through the whole process, the planning board would have 90 days from the date of submittal of the definitive plan to make a decision without extension. If they had not submitted a preliminary plan, it's 165 days. So by submitting a preliminary plan, they shorten the length of the definitive process.
Gee, forgive me, wouldn't it be worthwhile to have the plan up
Oh,
there?
yes, yes, yes.
You know, the one that shows that one, you know,
That one?
because that
Okay.
kind of shows it all.
The one at the very end has got just the dark on white. I think that's even clearer.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
What?
The last
All of the
page.
very
Mark,
bottom.
please.
C,
There it is.
Right
Oh,
there.
right there?
3.3, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Well,
it doesn't show the.
Doesn't show the open spaces nicely, Ken.
Well, it also doesn't
Well,
show,
it does if you minimize it.
Yeah.
The thing
Okay.
that's important to me is it shows the difference between the
Between the old
previous
and the
size of
new.
the
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Clearer than the new ones.
there's no driveways, no buildings on this lot, but it
Right,
has.
it
yeah.
shows the
Sure.
Yeah.
physical boundaries.
Nathan?
So I'll try to pick a 30,000-foot question, again, to Mark. How does this development fit with the master plan for the town of Ayer?
Well, I think the master plan calls for open space residential development to be the method of subdivision. So we did that in 2018, so, you know, I'd say it's, you know, basically
Be a little more
compliant.
specific.
Yeah, it doesn't go on a tract or a lot by lot basis of saying this lot should be developed, this lot should be all open space, but, you know, the other thing I'll mention too is following on the master plan, we did an open space criteria, prioritization study.
Right.
And this whole area up there is the highest priority.
That's
Which
what I
is
wanted
not
to.
surprising, given it's in the area of critical environmental concern and that
Right.
important natural habitat, and all that stuff, you know.
So the master plan was done
2017.
2017? And there is, and I think that's important to know, that there is priority land for preservation. And does this development fall entirely within the highest priority land?
Yes, yeah.
I think the whole site was included
Yeah.
in that, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Didn't mean to put you on the spot, Nathan.
I want to follow you at this point.
Oh,
No, I've got questions that are like very detail oriented around traffic and stuff like that. We'll get to it.
I'm good, thank you.
you're good, Julie?
I mean, I
Nathan?
will have questions, but not right now.
Okay. And Jeff, you're good for the
I'm
moment?
gonna hold on for now. Thank you.
Ken, would you feel comfortable?
I'll start out
Dig it
with,
in?
I will start out with Bob's comment about getting insomnia from his letter. So I've read the letter a few times and did not get insomnia about it. Had a lot of notes here, but I prefer to go right to the conclusion, which is that the applicant is basically going to show us a brand-new plan now, and we're going to ignore the plan that was in the past.
That's right.
That's what I'm trying to establish.
Okay,
That's
We can
correct.
concentrate on this plan. We don't have to think about lot size from the old plan, or length of
That's right.
roads, or whatever the case might be. It's valid that a logical comparison is that the new road is substantially shorter than the old road. That's a benefit. That on the original plan, according to my notes, I believe you had somewhere in the vicinity of, had the same amount of lots, but there were just a flip of the units. There was somewhere in the vicinity of 20 units north of the power lines and about 12 to 15 south of the power lines. This is just the opposite, with I think 20 now south of the power lines and a smaller amount, 15 so north of the power lines. So in backing up what Bob said, one of the concerns we had initially was how can we get from the plan that you withdrew, which 6 months ago, which showed more similarities to the original plan than this did. How could we get from what you gave us 6 months ago to where we are now? So by withdrawing that plan, taking it completely out of the picture, we're really going from the original plan to this new condensed plan which falls under our OSD regulations.
correct.
So I just want to be careful, we double check that. all the
Can
time.
I actually be extra careful? When you say the original plan, you're talking about 2005?
Correct.
Thank
'Cause
you.
The other plan is not.
I know,
That's
because we only get two, so I just,
Yeah.
the
We only
original.
really have two situations.
Yeah.
One that's going to be abandoned, basically. On a clarification basis, this is, I'll get into a little bit of legal stuff now. Do you owe this planning board a letter of some sort or a legal document that says what you are doing? Are you modifying the original plan, which is allowed? Are you rescinding it, getting rid of it, going back to strictly open space that's all there with no plan? Or are you just, there's a step there. I think you need to concentrate on the step. It takes you from the old plan that was approved to move it off the,
2005.
out of the picture and replace it with this plan. You can check on that on your own.
Yeah, no, and actually.
I think it might be a modification, might be the term. of the-
And that may well be, and I'll let you finish and then
Okay,
you
so
and I can
just
talk
talk
about
about that for
Yeah,
what the legal steps have to be, so that we know that that original plan is out of the picture, and it's being, concentrating only on this new OSRD plan that falls within our guidelines and our regulations. I did read quite intensely your whole letter, and I'm glad we're not going into the details of that, and that's why I'm trying to clarify that we're
Yep.
going beyond that letter, right to this plan at this point. in time.
yep.
Okay?
Would it be appropriate for you and I to converse on this?
Not right now.
No, on the issue of modification versus,
Well, I leave that up to you. We're only
Okay.
in the preliminary stage. I think you just need to determine
Yeah.
that when you get to the definitive stage, between now and the definitive stage. Take whatever
Yep.
legal steps you need to determine. that
because it
that-
can be a worthwhile thing to completely eliminate that.
Right, so I
Yeah.
want you to think about that.
Yep.
As how you go through
Sure.
that step.
If I may, I think it allows us to bring absolute clarity and focus to the
Yeah.
discussions. That's why I think it has value. Is it?
Yeah, well, I'm leaving that up to the applicant.
Yeah, and it's helpful
to
for
determine.
people later. I actually, ironically, have gotten calls from conveyances where there has been a prior subdivision
Right.
that was approved, it's on the books, and then somebody developed something else, and they've looked for, what happened to that,
title search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, it would be a worthwhile thing to treat it as a modification, and then there's no issue.
Just-
Yeah, and ultimately your owners will need that other search being done in the future, so
Yeah.
it's a good way to
Yeah,
start fresh.
So-
yeah,
I have every file that we turned in from the original plans, the plan that was withdrawn, and now this plan. So I'm not gonna go into all that, we have plenty of
Yep.
time to do that. Just on a technical basis, Dan, can you please take the language issued for permit off these drawings, or any drawing you give us that's in the form of a discussion phase, which is where we're
Sure.
at right now. It's not issued for permit, so that.
Oh,
I don't know why
the
you do
stamp,
that.
yeah, that was an
But
oversight
that's,
on my part, yeah.
upsets me. I just don't like it. So
Yeah.
could you, when we do a small clarification here, and we revise the plans over the next few meetings,
That's intended for the definitive.
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
there now.
I know, it's
So
there now, I didn't take it off.
please take that off. To establish it, double check it, just again, as pointed out by the attorney, Mr. Collins, we're talking about 35 lots that comply with the new OSRD regulations, but 37 units, since two of the
That's
lots
correct.
will have 2 units. So we have
That's
a
correct.
total of 37 units.
That's correct.
I thought a strength of the application, when I saw it, was the fact that you were putting 4 affordable units in there, under, I presume, the state guidelines for
That's correct.
affordability. So, you also have history of doing that in Groton, in the development over there, so you have actual knowledge of the paperwork and the steps to take to make that happen, and that's important, I think, for the town. So that's a plus. I had a quick question, these are some technical questions. So the right-of-way on the original plan was 50 feet. We now allow a 40 foot.
This is
These
40.
represent the 40 foot. We
It
did
does.
talk about that
Yeah,
before.
and this does, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So we've shrunk that footprint of the road a little bit. You've shown a sidewalk, which I think we also talked about 6 or 8 months ago.
We did.
Now that goes from, on the east side, parallel, there's actually a double sidewalk all the way up to the power lines.
Correct.
So this gives the neighborhood or anyone else a chance to walk straight up that entire east side with the conservation land to their right, to the
Correct.
east.
And then there's a sidewalk around the entire loop.
And then the loop has the other additional sidewalk. So
Correct.
the entire project has sidewalks, some are duplicated with extra sidewalk for, I'm just guessing it's gonna be people who are walking up their dogs or walking up that side of
Right.
the street or whatever they wanna do within the development footprint, but basically, they might be from outside the neighborhood, so they could easily do it.
Right, it provides access to
There would be no
people.
restriction on who could go up and down that
Correct.
sidewalk. One of the things we have, that the state has in their, subdivision laws, rules, is that planning board should always be interested in asking about a potential park, not the open space access,
Yeah.
or a parking lot.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the very last bottom of the
yes.
we're entitled to ask for a park. Could you think about a way to put a park within the development that could be used by the neighborhood? So this is a remote location. Children have to go quite a ways to get to a park. I think it would make perfect sense for us to look at the possibility of fitting a park in. We've got a lot of land up there.
Yeah.
I think it could be in that area to the left on the bottom of the lower road there.
Right, there's
To-
plenty of places.
Yeah, there's
above the
room.
power
So,
line, yeah.
again, you didn't show it, so I'm asking you to
Yeah.
put it on the changes as you think about this. I was gonna ask you how many feet it was to the beginning of the loop, but I looked it up, it's 600 feet. So the concept of the discussion will start after that. It's 600 feet just
From
to
Wright Road
get
in?
to that spot right there.
From,
So
from
if-
Wright Road?
From Wright Road, yeah. So just keep in mind that 600 feet is very close to what we would limit the job if it weren't a loop or some other, concept. So I believe your return is gonna be that that's probably the end, and that the loop itself, which we'll talk about at another meeting, is the cul-de-sac, in fact, or something along those lines. That it's a terminus, that comes back on itself. So we'll talk about that.
Could you make a note about that?
I got it, okay, never forget it.
No, I'm trying to wrap my head around the idea of a loop as a cul-de-sac I'm not as familiar with that. I
We're
just
all gonna
think
go
it's
through.
interesting to think
It's just
about.
a big one.
We're all gonna go through it,
Yeah,
so.
a very big one, yes.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed from the original plans to the plan that we threw out, or you threw out, to this plan, is the location of the infiltration basins. We got another letter from someone, from Al Futterman. We know this stuff anyway, but the infiltration basins that seem to be shown from the original to this are remote and stayed where they were from the original plan.
Right, and we're gonna look at that, but with the preliminary, we only had good soil data where those original basins
Right.
were, so that's why we showed them there.
Exactly.
And if we could move them in closer,
This is the test hole waiver you were asking
Right.
about.
Right.
right, well, we'll
Well,
do
at this juncture.
We'll
yeah.
do that when
At
we
this
get to the
juncture.
definitive,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we didn't wanna,
I
I
was
didn't wanna
tying
portray
it to
something
that,
that we
yeah.
weren't sure we could do. And we're sure we can do those other basins where they were before, so we're good, obviously it benefits our client to move
Yeah.
in closer.
Well, it benefits
But-
everybody.
Everyone-
Yeah.
But we just
everyone
didn't
wins on
have
that
enough
one.
information
Yeah.
for me to sit here and say, we can do that. I wanted to make sure we could do it before I showed it.
But you
Engineers.
didn't bring it up, so I'm taking the lead for you.
Yeah.
Engineers.
The fact that we're talking about this adds to the thought that that's an additional way to preserve the open space without construction. We have this discussion oftentimes with other subdivisions as the infiltration basins are in the open space, but in essence, it's destructive to the open space. So we go back and forth as a board on whether we want to allow that, type of activity in the open space. We typically take the position that if it's in the open space and there's an excessive amount of open space as there is here, then infiltration basins would typically be okay. But I'll concur that, I'll agree obviously that you're gonna take a close look at that.
We are.
And test that we can move all those operations in.
Absolutely.
With the lots, close to the lots in the house.
That's our intention.
Okay.
I just didn't want to portray something that I couldn't factually say we could do.
I agree, thank you. So I looked at, I believe if I have it right, I'm gonna get to the power lines in a minute, but I looked at the location of your proposed parking lot. I think you put it under the power lines.
I believe we did, yeah.
You can't do that. Okay, so we can't authorize anything under those power lines.
Did I have, I don't.
So,
Well, we certainly have room to move it.
so, I mean,
Yeah.
okay, let's,
I didn't think it was under the power lines, but it might have been in the easement, Ken.
look to me like, well, in
It's
the
in-
easement.
Yeah, okay.
To me, that's
forgive
in the
me.
power line.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
in the easement, it's in the power lines.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We have room to move that.
But we certainly have room to move that.
So,
Actually,
obviously, the rest of the stuff. Okay, so I want to go back to something that I gave you before, which is the list of questions that I had during the original process.
Oh, and I'd love another copy of that, Ken.
I'm going to give it to you right now, sir. I made a section.
Because
special-
when we
special
withdrew it, I burned everything.
Special edition. just
There you go.
Thank you.
to- I saved everything.
Thank you. So I'll address each and every thing on this by the next meeting.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
So, the most important one on this list, as far as I'm concerned, and if this doesn't get resolved, it's an automatic no for me, obviously, is the very last bottom point, which you should have had time to work on now, and maybe you've got it done.
Oh, I have talked to them, yeah.
Well,
but-
what is it?
The point is that 700 feet of this road,
Yeah.
meaning 350 feet going to the north and 350
Yeah.
feet coming north to south, is construction and improvements below the New England Power
Yeah.
high power transmission lines within their easement.
Mm-hmm.
You own the land, but they have the rights to the easement, and language that we know is very legally strong on their
Mm-hmm.
side. You need to provide us a copy.
Yeah, I'll get you something. I have talked to them,
Something.
but I'll get you a letter from them.
It's gotta be more than that.
Yeah.
It's gotta be what's called the assent
Yes.
agreement.
Assent.
That
Yes.
can be recorded. That document.
Well, I would think that would be pertinent you'd want the assent at the definitive.
Right.
Yeah.
You have time to get it.
Yes, yeah.
But just bear in mind.
But I'll get you a
can't-
letter during preliminary.
Okay. we can do
Yeah.
that. I'm not really, it's not really important to me until we get right to the
Okay.
very end where we're gonna sign it.
Yeah,
Okay? But the assent agreement is gonna dictate back to the planning board what we are gonna have to waive under the
Yeah.
power lines. For
Yeah.
instance, we're not gonna be able to allow street trees under the power lines.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to change the curbing under the power lines for their trucks. And
Yeah.
provide them with these kinds of details. So to me, this is an important feature.
yes,
That 700 feet of road,
yeah.
as much as is normally built in many subdivisions, is just under those power lines. So, and we know from experience and from people that are a hell of a lot more intelligent about the habitat, that movement under the power lines of
It is.
of wildlife and plants and everything else is important. So I'm looking for a lot more detail
Mm-hmm.
of what happens under those power lines and how we're gonna put it into the definitive plan.
Sure.
It doesn't carry the whole weight of the discussion right now, but it will be important. Going back to that plan, I guess we've done it enough times, but it's pretty evident on that plan that there's a huge difference between the size of the original lots and where we are today. So that's what I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
Thank you, Ken.
Mr. Collins.
Thank you. Jeff,
Yeah, I know we're in the preliminary stage, but you mentioned that you're gonna put in four,
be a little louder, so if you're,
I'm gonna actually do this.
Yeah, the mask.
In the preliminary stage, I understand, but you mentioned you're gonna add 4 affordable units.
Yes.
You're gonna follow the state guidelines for
That's
affordability? Have you thought through what that's gonna be, 80% AMI or anything like that?
Actually, would look for guidance from either you or your housing authority,
Okay,
whatever you would prefer.
appreciate that. Thank you.
is that it?
For now,
All right, thank you.
we're talking about the plan.
Yeah.
Next time we can
I have one question, though.
lay it on me.
That I'm embarrassed that I didn't include in my letter. I know we talked about it last time. What do you guys like for streetlights? Because, and what do your regulations require? Because personally, I think it's a nice area not to have streetlights.
Yeah, we.
But I'd love your thoughts on that.
We'll think about it.
Well, we'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, can we?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So the Department of Public Works has established a cut sheet and a standard for the streetlights.
Okay,
That streetlight system is being used in all the last 3 subdivisions that we've done. So
okay,
it's an approved standard. It's designed specifically to get to the control system that the town uses. So it can be connected and controlled by DPW like the rest of the streetlights that we own in town. The advantage to that is that they can down the lighting at night. They can do a number of different security features with the lighting. So it may
Okay.
not run like a standard lighting system that you're familiar with. This is bright.
yeah,
So that's easily can be got by Mr. Dillis.
okay,
from
yeah.
DPW.
We'll consult with the DPW and then, so we would either need to ask for a waiver on that or comply.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but
That was
take a
my
look at
question.
it, because
Yeah.
compliance might not be painful.
Yeah, no, that's right.
If the planning board is done, we can.
Yeah, so I'd like to open it up to the people in the room. I just ask you, in turn, to step up to the, right up here. And in fact, can we give us, we're going to have a chair.
Well,
I don't have to be here.
Thank you. And I just ask when you approach to give your name and address, and then if you could give yourself 3 to 5 minutes for your comments or questions. Who would like to be recognized first? I saw the first hand in the way back. If you would like to step up, please.
I have two questions.
And your name and address, please.
Sharon Slarsky, 1 Ledgeway, which is right off of Wright Road.
Thank you.
The traffic study was done when?
December 2021.
December?
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah,
Am I allowed to answer, Mr. Chair? I'm sorry.
That was okay.
because,
September?
Well, it says December on
It looks like the traffic counts were done in September, though the full report was completed in December.
December, okay.
the traffic on Wright Road varies according to the season.
Yep.
And I understand that you can extrapolate but the amount of foot traffic on Wright Road, which is a very narrow road and no sidewalks, is tremendous in the spring, summer, and fall.
If I may, and that's exactly why our town planner, Mark, is asked to go beyond just the traffic count, precisely for that reason, one of the reasons, the pedestrian traffic. So yes, that is part of the peer review.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you. My second question was, I know, the Board of Health met with the applicant and sent a letter to the planning board regarding the sewage question.
Correct.
Is there any possibility of having that letter read into the record so that the people who are interested would know where the Board of Health is on this?
We could.
We could, sure.
We lost the plan.
Oh, that's to the screensaver. I'll bring it back up. It's in what,
Yeah, that's the kind of home we were proposing.
No, wait, is this
Kind of
another-
looks like a topography. It really does.
Would you, or
I'm happy to.
would you, so I'm gonna ask our clerk, Jeff Tillotson, to read the letter into the record.
The Town of Ayer Board of Health, Town Hall 1, Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432. I'll skip the phone number. On June 28th, 2022, submitted a letter to the Planning Board. Ayer Planning Board, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Massachusetts 01432, regarding the formal request for third-party independent engineers consultant to study impacts of Stratton Hill development on sewer capacity and flows. Dear Honorable Members of the Ayer Planning Board, at the June 27th, 2022 Ayer Board of Health meeting, the Board of Health voted 3-0 to formally request that the Planning Board require the developer of the proposed Stratton Hill subdivision to hire a third-party independent engineer consultant at the cost of the developer to study the impacts of the proposed Stratton Hill subdivision on the municipal sewer system as follows. 1. Study the number of residential units in the proximity of the proposed Stratton Hill subdivision who have on-site disposal systems and are not currently tied into the municipal sewer. 2. Study the current sewer capacity as well as the proposed sewer capacity with the proposed Stratton Hill subdivision. 3. Study the current sewer flows as well as the proposed sewer flows with the proposed Stratton Hill subdivision. 4. Study the potential impacts and integrity of the existing sewer service main with the proposed Stratton Hill subdivision. The Board of Health has a responsibility to ensure the public health in terms of the public sewer service to this project as well as any potential issues or impacts this proposed subdivision may have on the existing sewer capacity and flows, as well as the potential impacts the subdivision may have in preventing existing residential units that have on-site disposal systems from connecting to the municipal sewer if their current on-site disposal system fails. Thank you for your consideration of this important public health request. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact the Ayer Board of Health. On behalf of the Ayer Board of Health, signed Steve Slarsky, Chair, Ayer Board of Health, and copies were sent to the Ayer Select Board, Robert Pontbriand, Town Manager, Mark Archambault, the Town Planner, and Bridget Braley, the Health Agent from the Neshoba Boards of Health. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And I want to note, that just came in this morning.
Oh, I said June 28th, and
Yeah.
letters were.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
happy to pay for something like that, that's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
We've been in consultation with the DPW about this, but we're
Right.
happy to
Yeah.
get somebody to look into
Well,
it.
thank you. I just want to note that considerations of sewage capacity are always part of the subdivision process. And that before we make any decision, we have to get a sign off from DPW Dan Van Skalkwyk to say, will this work when measuring the capacity, et cetera. So I want to first of all just say, of course, that's always done and will certainly be done here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Ken, did you have a comment?
It's a follow-up to the letter that we received from the Board of Health. This is a letter that we received July 22nd of 2021 as we were reviewing the plan that was withdrawn, but it has the same exact, concerns. This was a letter written from the Department of Public Works, and it's a 3-page letter delineating the requirements that the applicant will have to provide in many things: stormwater, water and sewer, wastewater, stormwater, etc. I'll just read quickly the paragraph that is titled Wastewater System. 1. Submit a wastewater system design report, including prepare summary of wastewater flows under average daily and peak hourly conditions. Verify the sizes, slopes, inverts, locations of all existing sewer in Wright Road, Standish Road, and Wright Way. Determine existing and future wastewater flows in the Wright Road area and the capacity of the collection system and Wright Way pumping system to meet the future anticipated flows. That was C. D. Develop a proposed off-site sewer collection plan showing connections to existing systems, pipe capacity improvements, and proposed upgrade to the Wright Way ejector station. E. Design plans need to indicate locations of pressure sewer connections, including pipe sizes. F. Provide E1 pumping system design calculations, including pipe sizing, cleanout, and flushing locations. So just to follow up on what the chairman said, we would, of course, never approve a subdivision that didn't have a very close look at the wastewater systems in town.
Thank you,
And
Ken.
the DPW is aware of that and has started on that.
I see you, Jess, but before you earlier, there was somebody who had raised their hand. Did you want to get up? Was there someone from the left side? Yeah, wasn't there somebody?
Yep.
Yep, come on up. Again, if you would just state your name and address.
Yeah. Annie Reed, 7 Wachusett Avenue East. And I actually have several questions and concerns, and I'm not sure if the preliminary plan stage is the correct one, but I figure I'll just throw them out there and they can be addressed later if it's more appropriate. And also, I will email a copy of this letter to Mark so that it can be shared with the rest of the board and the Conservation Commission as appropriate.
If you could speak a little louder, Ms. Reed, so the people in the
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I will yell. Okay. The first question is, Attorney Collins has stated that the application narrative dated June 1, 2022, in the application narrative, that he has studied the matter and reached the conclusion that the 2005 subdivision plan remains valid. Who makes the determination about the validity of the 2005 permit? Is this a question for town council? Is this a legal issue as it relates to the town of Ayer? If this is a litigation issue, should the planning board accept this application before this permit issue has been legally resolved? The town planner, Mark Archibald, has highlighted this in the planning board meeting packet. Can the road and the lots extend north of the power line easement? How will a determination be made regarding the requirement of a waiver for a dead-end road, length, etc., if litigation is required? Should the town consider hiring counsel with expertise in environmental conservation for this land, which has been identified as the #1 priority preservation area?
So can we take those in turn?
You can.
All right, can you repeat the very first one? Seemed to have 2 parts, one about a permit and one about the applicability of the old plan. I can address the first part of that, which is that earlier today we had the conversation with Mr. Collins regarding what are we working from? And I think at this point the old plan is moved. We're working from the plan that's been submitted.
This plan right here.
Okay. Okay. I'm just curious as to why you made that point in your analysis
Doesn't matter.
summary. Okay.
Well, it's somewhat pertinent for the reasons that Ken brought up. At some point or another, we have to deal with that plan to get rid of it somehow or other, whether we superimpose this on it or not. But I brought it up because it's pertinent because it was approved. And it actually was approved, if you think about it, if you look at that site, the 35 lots that occupied 3 times the area that the 18 acres that is going to be occupied now occupied, actually would fit within the confines of the current bylaw, as ironic as that is. But this is infinitely better than that 2005 plan. So
Okay.
that's why I brought it up.
Well, I think you've clarified that.
But again, we're working on this.
Okay. So, again, I don't, this next question has to do with some discussion that's already occurred about the conservation analysis. So just bear with me, because I wrote this before the meeting happened. Is it appropriate to accept and discuss a preliminary plan for this proposed development before conservation analysis that meets the requirements of applicable bylaws has been reviewed and accepted by the Conservation Commission? Members of the community would like to participate in the review process before the conservation analysis is accepted.
I believe,
No, go ahead, Mr. Chair.
no,
So, my understanding.
it's yours, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that if I did not attend the Conservation Commission meeting the other evening, but I believe they have put together a request for RFP in order to do a conservation analysis. May I ask, Ms. Gugino?
Yes, please.
Is that correct, Jess?
Yes, Friday we did it, right? Yes. We issued a request for proposals on Friday. It's 3 weeks till our next meeting. We're hoping to get, our deadline to get proposals is before that. At our next meeting, July 9th, 14th,
Yeah.
we will pick assuming we get proposals, we'll pick somebody, we'll pick a vendor, and then we'll get the conservation analysis peer review started right away so that we have an answer from the planning board by the end of August, ideally.
So what I was going to say is we're in a preliminary state, obviously, because this was before us before, we were all kind of primed and ready to go. So Conservation Commission is in the process right now of getting that process going forward. And Mr. Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the conservation, and Jess, I'm not going to speak for you, and I know John's away, and I'm not going to, hopefully he doesn't hear me saying this way far away where he is, but the Conservation Commission will be holding meetings for input, I believe, when they get the analysis done. Am I correct? During your meetings, when this input is discussed, the public will be invited.
Yes, we'll be having 2 meetings with the peer review, one beginning of the process, second one when they have their report done. It would be excellent if members of the public were present at either of those meetings, first to express their concerns to the reviewer in advance of them doing the review, and then secondly, getting questions answered at the final report stage.
And then I think the third portion of the question is, what happens to that information once the Conservation Commission does the work? They present it to the planning board. And the planning board, because of the way the OSRD is written, we work in parallel and together in the beginning of the process so that this takes place. So the public has input in both conservation and the planning board process. If and when we get to a definitive plan submission, we then incorporate what has been worked out between conservation and the applicant.
Okay. My concern, or my
I
I don't
question.
know if I answered the question correctly, but.
Yeah, I just want to recognize Ken.
Yeah.
So, and I think one of the answers, the question that Ms. Reed brought up had to do with the timing, I believe. It's designed that the timing of the conservation analysis, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is concurrent with the preliminary plan, that they are supposed to move together. That's so that by the time the preliminary plan is done, the conservation analysis is almost complete and ready for the definitive
Right.
plan.
Yeah.
So would you agree with that, Mark? And it's
Yes.
right here in black and white
Right.
if we have to
Yeah.
read it. But
Thank you.
the process is designed to be moved together. So yes, it can go ahead, and yes, it can get on.
Okay, so in other words, whatever is identified as ecologically valuable and significant will be identified, and then this plan will evolve as part of the end of the preliminary process or the beginning of the definitive plan. Is that right?
Well, we're hoping that by the end of the preliminary process, the Conservation Commission is done to the point, well, actually, they did the applicant has
They've
done a
already done it.
conservation analysis. What they're doing is similar to what we would do with the traffic study. It's a peer review. They just wanted to make sure that all the concerns they have are indeed addressed in what the applicant hired another firm to do a conservation analysis. So they're doing a peer review study of that to make sure that all their.
According to the town website,
Mhm.
the conservation analysis that has been submitted with this plan is the old conservation analysis that was associated with the plan that was submitted last summer. It's dated like June something.
It is the same document,
Right,
yeah.
Or August something revisions.
Right.
So that plan was extensively reviewed by the Conservation Commission. I attended a couple of meetings and was never, it was deficient.
That was the opinion of the. some
Right,
people.
and
There was an
so it
opinion
was
that
never
was
accepted.
deficient.
Right, but it was,
It was only an opinion.
it was an opinion, but it was never accepted. And it has now been resubmitted, and I know that I personally reviewed it and had a bunch of questions and concerns about it and thought that there were deficiencies. So I just wanted to clarify that I think that, you know, a member of the Conservation Commission or at a separate meeting, it might be more appropriate for me to bring this up, but I think it might be more than just a peer review. I think there might be missing information.
Recognize Jess.
Yes, I will. Jess, please.
I just say that the purpose of, this is a tricky site because way more than 50% is being given over to open space, per the open space residential development bylaw. With that bylaw, the Conservation Commission is tasked with making a recommendation to the planning board. And that recommendation, the peer review is going to help us determine, do we have enough information to make a recommendation to the planning board? Doesn't mean that the conservation analysis as a whole for the whole site has to be as thorough as it might be for other sites, because most of this is going to conservation. So our big concern is, do we have enough to make a really good informed recommendation to the planning board, particularly in regards to the area that is around the area that's proposed for the development.
Okay,
And that's what the peer review is going to help us with.
okay. You guys are gonna shut me up, like because I don't, you know, obviously other people wanna come.
You can count on me.
I'm just gonna jump to a question about one of the waivers that has to do with this. The applicant has requested a waiver, and maybe I misunderstood what you're requesting with your waiver, but a waiver for the submission of a landscape plan showing trees on the site which are more than 12 inches in diameter. There are many trees greater than 12 inches in diameter within the previously cleared area in close proximity to the gravel road where the new 35 house lots are being proposed for development. Assuming the purpose of this requirement is to identify and catalog large specimen trees of value, I would request that the waiver be denied on areas of the site proposed for development, because this may create opportunities to adjust lot lines or shift the location of homes so that mature specimen trees can be saved. For the areas that will remain undisturbed by the development, the waiver should be granted.
We'll take that under consideration. I mean,
That's reasonable.
I've just done a lot of walking around up there, and, you know, thank
Yeah.
you for all the public access that I've taken advantage out of. And there are a lot of large trees up there right around the road. So that's why I brought that up.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
certainly would be our intent to keep anything that we can. We really would.
Right, but in
Yeah.
order to do that,
Yeah.
you'd have to catalog it.
You gotta
and
identify it, sure.
Okay. Okay. And then this is one I really want to get to that others have touched on, but before you shut me up, I want to talk about this one. Members of the community have serious traffic concerns about the safety of our community and our children. What are the dangers and the impact of increasing the vehicular traffic by more than 50%? The Van Ness traffic study, which was conducted in September 2021, doesn't seem adequate or complete. The recommendations and conclusions merely address the project site road and how that should be constructed, while virtually ignoring the existing roads that must be traversed from a single access point. The study's conclusion states, the proposed project will not result in a significant impact on overall operations. What does that mean?
Ms.
What about our safety?
Ms. Reed? I just, earlier, we actually addressed the issue of the truck that we're going to have a peer review of that study because we do feel that it is short and we do have additional safety questions. So that is being addressed.
Okay. I think that Mark touched on the pedestrian traffic and, beach traffic and all that in his packet. But I do want to just say that the study didn't include any information about the poor condition of the existing roads and the narrow width and the blind curves, which all serve to slow traffic down and make drivers more aware and cautious. These roads are barely 20 feet wide in most places. There are no sidewalks, and there are, in many places, no opportunity to install one because the edge of Sandy Pond is within 2 or 3 feet of the road. Children play in the street regularly and unsupervised, and families swim in the little beaches that are only a few feet from Snake Hill Road. Many people who are not driving use these roads for recreation every day, walking their dogs, riding bikes, and running. If these roads could be improved and widened, it would only encourage people to drive faster, thus creating a more dangerous situation and diminishing the value of the small, quiet, dead-end roads that are such a valuable amenity. The town planner's notes and suggestion for RFP should be reviewed, and there should be more opportunity for community input before an RFP is issued.
This is the meeting to have that conversation. That's what we're here for. We are discussing the RFP.
Okay.
We're going there.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Reed?
I have other questions, but I'm going to stop now because I really want to give other people a chance to say something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jess?
Okay, Jessica Gino, 8 Mountain View Avenue. So I have to be clear where I'm speaking as a member of the Conservation Commission and where I'm speaking as a member of the neighborhood.
Are you speaking as a member of the neighborhood right now?
Neighborhood.
Gotcha.
You didn't
Neighborhood
see the,
hat.
Yeah, you
see
didn't
the
say
neighbor
that.
hat? Yeah, it's like
Neighbor
right
hat.
there.
There it
It's like
is.
we've got a
Neighbor
little
hat.
sandy pond like wave thing.
I almost couldn't see because of the camouflage, but there you
Right.
go.
One question, I thought Sharon Slarsky and the Board of Health's decision about looking at the sewer impact is excellent, the capacity impact. If you could add into that, looking at the water main capacity, and I say this because Wright Road, the water main has had numerous leaks over the past 5 to 8 years. Last year, as many people will know, from Snake Hill Road to, is it about Sandy Way? The water main was replaced. And about 6 years ago, from the top of Mountain View to the extension of Wright Road into Kohler Place, that's a new water main, leaving in between Sandy Way and Mountain View, very old water main, which to me, as a total novice, looks like a plumbing aneurysm waiting to burst. Seriously. So what would the addition of 37 households, what impact would that also have on the water main capacity and integrity, given the existing situation?
Thanks, Jess.
Yeah.
Someone who's more informed than me could probably,
I
better answer,
believe-
believe it's something that is reviewed by, again, by DPW, right?
I imagine it's part of the, it's gotta be part of the permitting process.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say, I don't know who the gentleman is who does the water department, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, you know.
But as a
But,
neighborhood
yes.
resident,
Yes.
I lack
It will-
confidence.
It will go into,
Yeah.
Dan's,
Right.
into the DPW, and the DPW will review. We rely heavily upon the DPW to do review for stormwater, potable water, and also waste.
Okay. Second question is, I noticed in the material back from 2005 that an agreement had been reached with the Cowleys for emergency access. It looked like in the planning board packet, there was some emergency access to the area through their property. Would that still be in effect? Because I do have serious concerns over public safety. Again, regardless of what you deal with, the issue of the dead end waiver or not, which I personally think it should require a waiver, but the town in the last few years decided against holding, say, 4th of July celebrations at Peroni Park because of public safety concerns with only one entrance there. Here you're putting in 37 new households into the end of a dead end, regardless of it's a cul-de-sac, at the end of a dead end, at the end of another dead end. So as a resident who's at the end of one of the other dead ends, I have concerns there, and I would hope that planning board would consider public safety there as seriously as the fire department and the police department did in terms of Peroni Park and the fireworks that are not happening this coming weekend.
Yes, and you know that the fire department and the police department will make those reviews.
Right, and I'd like to make sure it's put in the context of other public safety concerns the town has made elsewhere, to take that into account. Thirdly, just as a note, I hope as the process goes down the road, since the site was sort of left for the past 12 years, there's been a lot of dumping of junk up there.
Oh, that would all have to go.
And that would all have to be cleaned up, including both where you're developing,
Yeah.
of course, but also in the open
disgrace.
space
Yeah.
around there.
With your permission, Mr. Gino, we'll pass that on to the Conservation Commission.
That, I believe that we do not have jurisdiction there, Mr. Tillotson, per se.
We'll figure it out.
You can't say
We'll
we, you
figure
have
it
the
out.
wrong hat on.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
switched.
I don't think-
I'm sorry, Jess, I
I
had
don't think they have
to.
jurisdiction.
Okay. Jess, we walked the site, we noticed the
Yeah.
same darn thing. Yes,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
a shame, but,
All right.
yep.
And that's all I have as resident Jess.
Thank you, resident Jess.
So,
May I?
Yes, Jeff.
This actually brings a good question to mind, and it's an issue I had questions of, and I don't know if Mr. Collins or the party can actually answer it. I don't know where it exists on this plan,
Yeah.
but at the top of the old loop road,
Yeah.
there's that large pit that was left behind. It's almost like, I don't know if it was
Yes.
part of the
Yeah.
roughing in or it was left behind from the
Yeah.
previous
That's-
group. But that's a restoration. I would hope
Yeah.
that we would think about a restoration up there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know if you were
there's two
talking about that,
areas.
but I know that's come up. I'm not exactly in a butter, but I'm pretty close, and I hear a lot about it. So I want to make sure that that stays. Even though we're taking the old one, putting it behind us.
Yeah.
Let's keep that.
Well,
Yeah, and
these
there's
are Jess's
actually,
back.
Thanks,
And
Jess.
Resident Justice has one more thing, which again, I think refers to something Annie said. I mean, I think you mentioned that Mr. Moulton does maybe 5 to 7 houses a year in his
yeah, that's his
subdivisions.
average, yeah.
So 35 houses, we're talking up to 7 years or more.
That's right.
Right. The existing surface of the road, I don't want to see the road widened or straightened
Yeah.
myself as a resident, but the existing surface of the road is in such, pardon my French, crappy condition. I don't see how, I mean, there are parts of the road where I drive on the other side
Yeah.
to
Oh, yeah.
avoid damage
Yeah.
to my axles. So I don't see how with construction equipment and even I don't see how that road's going to survive one more year, it's a terrible road for taxpayers in that area. So paying for it, and
Thank you, Jen.
that's what we drive on.
Did you want to be recognized?
I think it's evident that we are aware of most of the statements that have been made tonight, and not the least of which we could require that the applicant complete off-site improvements, which would include Wright Road. I think the applicant is probably thinking along those terms during the process. So when we get to the definitive plan, we'll definitely lay down off-site improvements and what we would expect that would be concurrent or would be connected to the first building permit, or some sequence in the process that would require off-site improvements be done, and evidence shown that they're done, or that a bond be put in place, or something along a number of financial situations that could guarantee that the work be completed in a fashion that would be acceptable to the town. Unfortunately, that's some of the things that would not in the first approvals. So I read all the first approvals, and that decision did lack many of the details that we are thinking about today with public input and just experience at the time. More planning board experience and more professionals working with us and whatnot. So I just want to make that as a general statement.
Thank you, Ken.
Kind of a general answer. Thank you.
Before I call the next person up, I'd like to call a 5-minute recess. So if we could break, and then we'll rejoin at 5 minutes of. I call the meeting back to order, and I want to recognize Mr. Collins.
Well, we've heard a lot of valuable input tonight, and we want to provide you with some additional information for next time. So we'd love a sense of when you'd like to see us next. But before we get to that, I did want to say, in defense of the planning board 15 years ago, there actually were extensive agreements and discussions about off-site stuff then. They just didn't find their way. They didn't find their way into a written decision of the planning board. But I think it was understood, certainly by Mr. Moulton, that he was going to have to do this, that, and the other thing before he got any building permits. So I think perhaps it was just that the board at the time perhaps was not as savvy with how to deal with off-site stuff into a decision. But there certainly were extensive discussions. And on that subject, we have had extensive discussions with the Department of Public Works on an ongoing basis over the last year, certainly, on stuff that's going to be needed for this site. So we're cognizant of that.
So what I'd like to do is eventually I'd like to move to some of these action items to move the process along forward. But before that, I just want to be sure that everyone who came here to speak has a chance to speak. So yes, let me, Marion, please.
Thank you. So my name is Marion Stoddard, and I live at 204 Autumn Ridge Drive.
Welcome, Marion.
Thanks. And so I do have a lot of concerns about proposed Stratton Hill development. But first, I would just like to say that I really appreciate the fact that that Mr. Moulton acquired the land from Sandville quite a few years ago, and then
24 years.
24 years ago, and that so much of the land in Groton was, I'm not sure, gifted is really the correct word to say to Mass Audubon, but...
Well, it was, yeah.
Well, right, but there was a requirement really that it be protected.
Yes.
Right. And so appreciate that, and so what I would appreciate even more is if Mr. Moulton were to decide not to develop any of the land, and instead were to sell it to Mass Fish and Wildlife or to the town of Ayer, so they could all be protected, because it is a very unusual parcel of land. I should say parcel of land. It's very special land, and most, I think all of it is within an ACEC and an area of critical environmental concern, and so we'd like to have that protected, and that, of course, the town of Ayer's open space plan is really, this is the key open space parcel in Ayer to be protected, and so I hope that it can happen, and that Mr. Moulton would be able to realize all of the value from the property that he would like to have and deserves. So I do have.
Marion, could you speak up? Can she
Speak.
use the mic?
Well,
It
there's a
doesn't
mic
project
in
it to the
It
room.
goes to the TV.
So for everyone
You can go home
attending,
and watch it.
so
Sorry, I'm not
if you don't, I'm going to paraphrase that Ms. Stoddard raised the issue, given the sensitivity of the land and its extraordinary value, would the applicant, the owner, Mr. Moulton, consider simply abandoning the development and giving the land? Am I right?
Correct.
Selling.
So, I'm sorry, not selling, giving, selling, pardon me, my mistake, forgive me. But selling the land to an appropriate agency, perhaps Fisheries and Wildlife. Is that what you?
Yeah, that is correct.
All right, I
And
just wanted to make it so for everyone could hear.
Right, thank you.
Can
And
Mr.
also-
Collins respond before you go on to the next point?
Excuse me?
Could Mr. Collins
Sure,
respond
sure,
before you go to the
right,
next point?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
So this is the way Mr. Moulton wants to preserve the rest of it.
Okay.
And it's a compromise. And one of the things that goes unsaid, and Dave's not here, so I can say this without embarrassing him, but there are a couple of times a year he has a gathering of the people that work for him. There are over 100 people whose livelihood directly come from Dave Moulton and the company that he has that builds the houses on the lots. And he's very conservation minded, as evident by the hundreds of acres that he's gifted in other towns and that he would like to gift in this town. But he also is in business partially to build houses, but partially to keep the crew that are his employees employed. And he's very loyal like that. So selling and completely abandoning the idea is not an option for him. There's got to be a limited development, and that's what we've been very clear on from the beginning. But Dave holds you in the highest regard, Marion, and I've had those conversations with him, and that was part of the way I was able to get it down to the 18 acres.
Well, I really appreciate that. It has gotten down
Yeah.
to 18 acres, but I do have some concerns to express about the proposal for the development of Stratton Hills. And one of my concerns is about land that should and should not be counted as open space, and another is drainage and percolation runoff. And I want to make sure, we'd like to make sure that we will know that any drainage will be mitigated. And
So if we could pause there so I can answer
Sure.
your question. So the questions were about permeability overall, and secondly about, I think, drainage, in other words, stormwater. Is that correct, Ms. Stoddard?
yes,
And so I can answer that. Yeah, those will both be exhaustively reviewed. Absolutely. That engineering, it's a very demanding engineering requirement, and they will be exhaustively reviewed. The ratio of impermeable to permeable, the calculations for stormwater, and provisions for that, the mitigation that runoff will be discussed and addressed in depth, and there will be no sign off until we get a DPW signature saying, yes, we approve the stormwater plan.
right. And so, and I don't want to forget this one item, so I may be I'll think of it, but question is, when are you going to file with MEPA?
We actually already have. So we have MEPA approval and a conservation management permit. I've had conversations with both agencies regarding amending those existing approvals, because both have to be amended because this plan is different than what they approved. And I think as we near the end of the preliminary plan stage, so I know exactly what it's going to look like, we will initiate that process on amending both those approvals. So if I had to hedge a guess, the end of August, beginning of September.
And so, under my first expressed concern is land that should not be included in open space. Think that land between the two roads in the right-of-way.
The easement?
The easement.
Right.
is a requirement. I don't.
There is a requirement. It
So
has
I'm
to do
not
with
sure
the
that it should be
50%.
included
Right.
as open space.
So I will be corrected because I trust my colleagues, but my understanding is that if it cannot be included, the area under the easement cannot be included in the calculation for that first 50%. But when the applicant submits a proposal that's much greater than the 50%, then they have leeway to include the easement in the calculations.
Thank you. And two, under that category, the question is that detention basins.
Yes.
And that they hope or expect that the town to accept from road runoff. And I don't think that that should be included as open space, or be counted as open space.
That will be a part of the discussion, yes.
And those can certainly be backed off, and the numbers are so weighted in this case that these are very academic. If the numbers were tight, those would be very valid concerns, because I would agree with you 100%. There's stuff that should not be included in an open space calculation, such as those things. But in this case, we're way over the calculation.
Another area are parking areas for people to use for recreation, so it doesn't seem to me that those.
And we did raise that, and I believe Mr. Collins has agreed, and the engineer has agreed that, yep, that's
We're
part of
going to
discussion,
provide.
and that we're going to arrive at a place of parking that is not contradictory to the ownership of the easement, holding of the easement by the power company. We'll arrive at an appropriate place for parking, for access, yes.
Good. And then under the second concern expressed, this is drainage and percolation runoff concerns. One is want to make sure that the depths to groundwater in detention areas are deep enough.
And we'd have to demonstrate that, absolutely.
And to also to make sure that open space boundaries are clear. And make sure that wetlands boundaries on the plans are the new approved boundaries.
And I think they are. Didn't we recently do an ANRAD? So they are. They're up to date.
And I must say, I am concerned about the dead end road, and for safety reasons. But one of the things I'm really concerned about is the land that's is the extension of this proposed development, and so I would certainly hope that the development would not occur above the power lines, and this is where the land is the greatest or the most significant environmental value, and so I really hope that that would not be developed.
Thank you, Ms. Stahl.
Thank you.
I'm going to recognize first. What's that? Yes, I believe so. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to recognize the gentleman, and then I'm going to recognize you, and then I'm going to suspend discussion for this evening. It doesn't mean we have more meetings come up where you can talk, because we have some business we have to attend to before the meeting can close. So we're going to have this gentleman, one other speaker. We're going to close discussion, and then we're going to finish the business for this evening. Sir, your name and address.
Joe Hart, 18 Hibiscus Lane.
Hello, Mr. Hart.
Good evening. Mr. Collins opened up talking about the plan, the overall plan, looking from Wright Road, looking towards the potential development, right, and talking about the view and protecting the people from Wright Road from seeing the homes. I'm hoping the same view will be protected from the people living on Hibiscus, where I live, and hopefully sheltering and not seeing any of the homes.
That's way.
Excuse me. Oh, you won't see any of this.
Quarter mile away.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's across
Oh, my
Long
goodness.
Pond. Hibiscus is across Long Pond, it's not shown.
So if you see on the other
Excuse me,
map.
Mr. Hart, I'm sorry, but he didn't know where it was offhand.
Okay, you can bring up another map and you can see from my property, I can see all that lower area.
I had that right, are you right here?
I'm in that cove. You see the cove at the end of Hibiscus?
Yeah.
Just before the Badger
Right
Park?
here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right there, right where yeah. There's hibiscus right there.
So I would hope that when you're reviewing the plan,
We've hiked it a lot, looked at it, that's a tremendous distance from where you are. This is even the old plan with the bigger lots, but the
Right.
newer lots are even further in, so.
Yes.
Quite a way.
if you,
Although hibiscus is quite high, I know.
right.
Yeah, topographic.
Right. And when we're looking at the plot plan on the other view, you see two properties up on the, I would say that's the eastern side?
Yeah,
With the doubles.
Yeah.
That's the affordable housing.
So can those be moved to the east, the bottom half, where you have all that open gray space, so you're not getting closer to the pond? If I may. Instead of being on,
right, we see it.
yeah, so moving these two properties down here.
Just don't touch it. It fights back when you touch it.
Instead, I'm trying to protect the pond as far as the closest of properties to the pond.
It's up to the engineer.
Yeah, I mean, if it's possible, we can certainly look. I don't know if the topography cooperates over there, but we can certainly look.
And everyone, I've heard a lot of people talk about.
It's kind of nice that those two, just looking at it quickly, but it is kind of nice that those two lots are separated from the rest, with space on either side, because I think that's an easement to something in between, right?
Yeah.
Stan?
Yeah.
When you put them on the other
That's
side,
probably the open
I
space
guess you
access.
have to decide whether you leave that spacing or not,
Yeah.
But, okay.
And then a lot of people had concerns regarding the lighting, and
About
obviously lighting. And I know you talked about the last two or
Yeah.
three subdivisions you're putting in lighting, but I'd appreciate consideration and making sure that when the lighting comes in, I'm not looking at Wrigley Field in my backyard instead of, the beautiful property that Mark talks about a few times.
Agreed, and that we have pretty strict rules about lighting and controlling light pollution. So
Right.
yes, and it's acknowledged.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, new to me tonight, we're talking about a 7-year-long construction project that's going to be going on, of 100 people going in out of a construction site on a daily basis. That's a long construction duration for Wright Road, the environment, everyone that lives around there. It's going to be a disturbance for 7 years.
Yeah, and we take that very seriously. Yes.
And it might go quicker. Dave is 86. His son may well be quicker.
So those are my thoughts for the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hawks. Appreciate it. And lastly, I believe, yes.
Hi, I'm Faith Salter, 10 Winthrop Avenue, and I just appreciate all of this problem-solving, preservation thing that you're all doing. I have two things, and I'm not going to belabor the traffic. I just want to comment on that a September 2021 traffic study, it's a pandemic traffic study. It's not useful. And I want to include the Sandy Pond period, that where the beach is, that has to be part of the impact study, just because I know you've all been down there. And
Should have been there today.
yeah, so just in the summertime and that kind of thing, and during the pandemic, there was no traffic. So that's aside. That's not really what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is more that my big concern when I first heard about this has to do with Long Pond, which in the pond study for the town of Ayer is described as not just a critical habitat for the town of Ayer, but for the state of Massachusetts, because it is such a pristine pond. And that there isn't any way that a development of any size can go on these shores of this pond without increasing the nutrient load in the pond and having a negative impact on the ecology of the pond. And I feel like as a resident of Ayer, everyone, you yourself, sir, talked about how this is a critical conservation area and how important this is. We keep talking about the land. Ayer has that in short supply anyway. But clean water, a clean pond, we really don't have that. This is the upstream pond. The water quality in the town gets worse and worse as you follow the water through the town to Grove Pond and now ultimately into the river. I think we have to think about that. I think we have to think about the nutrient load. I know we've talked about stormwater, but when we talk about stormwater basins, everyone around here is like, stormwater basins, it stays there. That's a lot of impermeable surface. I'm really worried about the increase of the nutrient load. I would like future displays of this to show the water, because people don't understand that water there, it's right there. It's right there. You know, and I think it's important that people who are making comments understand that and understand the connectivity there. I'm also conscious that in every town meeting, there's a fight about the $40,000 a year that we spend in this town on. Okay. I'm only saying that because this is relevant. It's relevant because that's because of nutrient load. And so when the planning board thinks about planning into the future, and we're planning to increase the nutrient load in the water, and the surface waters of the town, we're planning to pay more for vegetation control. So I just want to put that there.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, I'm going to allow Mr. Diskin to respond.
We would never plan to add the nutrient load to any pond in the town as a planning board, but we will certainly look very closely at the impact of the subdivision.
Louder, please. Louder and.
We would never plan to add the nutrient load to any pond. We will definitely plan to take a close look at your concerns, but we certainly would never plan to add nutrient load.
Great, thank you. At this point, I'm going to close the discussions and move to some action items on this particular project, and then to some other agenda items we need to fill. The first thing I want to...
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Can I just give one encouragement, which is there are 3 OSRD developments in various states of construction right now. It would be great to take a look at any one of those, get permission if it's in play. But a lot of the concerns are being addressed, in those, and I think you get a great view of what this board has regulated in real time out there on 3 different areas in our town.
Thank you. So I'd like to do is see if there's some action items we can actually cover today. One is the yield plan. Mr. Collins, I think
we can get you a new one.
Yeah, we can. I think that by the next meeting we can expect a yield plan.
Absolutely.
Do you need to talk to any help or assistance with the calculation? Is that something you need a conversation with? You got that?
You know, I think that, as I said, I think the approved subdivision could suffice as a yield plan, and I could just use that as a yield plan because it has 35 lots.
Just do the math in the bylaw, please.
It results in 44, so that's okay. We'll give you a yield plan. That's
But
fine.
would you like to see that for the entire site? Or
No, just for the development
For the
area.
development.
The area that was previously developed.
For your proposed road, 40,000 square foot lots around the entire, well, one question is, the area that was identified in the conservation management plan to the right, abutting the ponds, that's kind of restricted from the conservation management plan, is it not? So I think it would perhaps be inappropriate to include those as lots, since you couldn't build them anyway.
But we'll get you a yield plan,
So basically.
We'll stay within the envelope of 2005, rather than wasting our time on the whole thing.
Well, yeah, we don't want to look at the northern part of we don't want a yield plan for up here, because obviously, that's unrealistic. But the question is, do we base the yield plan on the 2005 road, or do we base it on this new road?
Well, I think you could base it on a theoretical road.
I would like Ken.
Ken has an idea.
Ken has some thoughts.
If we agree that the process has gone from the original old subdivision to this new proposed, we don't need a yield plan now, because we've got the shrinkage down in the count down. If we do a yield plan, it's only going to show us what potentially could have been done in the standard subdivision.
Right.
So if the proponent believes that they're not going to, this is it.
Right.
We're already there with smaller unit counts.
Yeah,
I think the yield plan, we don't have to discuss.
I agree. It'll tell us the obvious, that they're staying well below what they can get.
But we're happy to provide it if you want it.
So I just, as a technical legal matter, do we have to have the...
Well, if we're going to not require a legal plan, we should get a waiver request from the applicant to waive the yield plan requirement. That's all.
Just to make it clear, it's because it is impossible that they'll come up with a number that's less than 35 lots.
Yeah, no question.
And they're so below the threshold that it's almost moot. But it is a part of the process, the yield plan. So my understanding is,
Yeah, because they, basically, the idea is to show all areas that could be developed at the conventional development scale. 40,000 square foot lots, 150 feet of frontage around the road.
So leave it to the board.
It makes a big difference in the smaller OSRDs because,
Yes.
you know, you have much more constrained land, the open space might barely exceed 50%. So that's a very important thing for the planning board to consider, whereas you're right. With this property, if you wanted to really go crazy and build the whole thing out, you, like you said, you get over 100 lots, but.
We're happy to provide something. We'll
Okay.
get you something.
So the, yes, it's a
All right.
yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I was wondering about, did you, Mr. Collins, you had a chance to see Mark's RFP regarding the review of the traffic study?
Yeah, I think that was.
Can we get to a
Yeah,
point, we
yeah.
have an agreement about whether?
Well, that this was circulated at a meeting in July.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yes. So
yeah.
we were aware
Yes,
that at some point or another, you're gonna need money and,
right, yeah, once
So-
we get to
Yeah.
that point.
Excuse me, Mark,
First
may I?
we have to send out the
See that
RFP.
just quickly?
So, Mark, what do
Yeah.
we need to do to get move the RFP forward?
Authorizing, well, first, look at the RFP, see if you're happy with everything that was included in it, and then authorize me to distribute it to potential consulting firms that would respond to it.
Do we have a motion?
Well,
I'll
no,
make
but
I'll
you
make
wanna
a
look at
comment
it first.
first.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure we were gonna have a discussion
Thank you, Mark.
after the motion.
It is the one that we had in the
Yeah,
packet.
yeah.
Thank you. I
If
just
I'm
wanted to
not
make sure.
mistaken, Mark, you can clarify this, but did you not work with members of the community for this hour?
Yes, in fact, Philip Prey, I believe, has a connection with Andy there. He had some advice on my initial one, and I included a great deal, if not all, of his concerns in here.
And I will note that the RFP includes things that were mentioned by the public here. For instance, the condition of Wright Road was identified by both Ms. Stoddard and Ms. Gugino. That's in this RFP. So a lot of your concerns are in the document that we would submit to a consultant to say, this is what we want you to look at. Has everyone had a chance to look at the RFP? I'm asking the board members.
I looked
Julie?
at it before last, and before.
Right.
So,
No, you haven't, Nate?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes,
so
sir.
This is actually the piece that I had the most fun with.
Oh, yes.
Over the last 24 hours.
Please, go for it.
40 hours, and I
Oh.
did read Mark's. Actually, Jonathan reminded me to read your write-up on this project, and it calmed me down a little bit. But some of the things that, if I may just make some general comments in no general orders following the Vaness report as I read it, and I want to kind of put this in a context. It's a traffic study. We're talking about level of service. Trip originations, how fast you get through an intersection. This does not, as it stands, to my eyes, reflect the actual ins and outs of all multimodal transportation over there. Walkers, cyclists, cars, trucks. Now, the other thing is, it leaves out a major intersection. And I know, Mr. Collins, I believe you are fairly familiar with Ayer. We have a transfer station. We have a school, and a school right next to the school. And I live on the feeder road that comes off Calvin Street, which comes off of Snake Hill Road, that takes everybody to the transfer station from that area of the town. I see Jess multiple times. She honks and I wave as she goes by, because Oak Ridge Drive is used, because to go out past the beach, over the causeway, past the beach, it slows us down. So we take Calvin to Oak Ridge, to the transfer station, to the schools. So I would hope that a future traffic study, even for originations, would include that intersection, which you're going to find is between, as I believe you know, on Snake Hill from Sandy Pond Road in. It's just glaringly not there. And I know it's in Mark's, along with the conditions of other
yeah,
things.
although I do know that they looked at it, I've got to check to see.
Yeah, so.
But I'm sure your
These
peer
are-
review is
these are
going
general
to.
comments
So
that,
again,
you know, and I'm
we're not traffic engineers, so
No, and
again, I leave it to them.
I spend an awful lot of my time doing multimodal advocacy, you're gonna find out. So that's one. how they describe the roads, I mean, I recognize that I am reading an engineer's report following probably the MUTCD. So I find it a little disingenuous, to be honest with you, that we're using traffic counters out on 495. I think that's probably not right. Nowhere in this report could I find that anybody spent any time looking up we don't want to talk about accidents. We don't want accidents to ever happen. But there was an accident at the corner of Sandy Pond and Calvin. I can't remember if the car was going out or in on Snake Hill, Snake Hill and Calvin. I can't remember if the car was going out or in, but it took down a handful of the railings and the fence posts and the railings of the property at 2 Calvin Street. And that has happened in the last 2 or 3 years. And I believe that was the Ayer police responded because I was at a function on Sandy Pond across the pond. First things first, we heard it all the way across the pond, but then again, sound travels. So I don't think this is capturing accident data. And that's
I'm not sure.
That's
But
important.
again, those are the things I think you gotta bring up with the peer review.
A traffic impact study, exactly.
And is that part of the peer review, Mark, the accident?
I believe,
hope so.
and the reason I'm just going through what's here, and I'm just
If
gonna
not,
talk about what I
add
think
it.
deficiencies are,
Yes.
just so we know where we stand, okay?
Yeah, I was confused for a second. Jeff
Yeah.
was reading the Vaness report.
I'm reading the Vaness
He's
report and
commenting
finding
on
the
that.
deficiencies.
I know he is, but
And
I'm
I didn't line it up with
Not
what
the
you did.
RFP.
But I'm just checking to see if
Yeah.
it's in the RFP so that we can cover these
I
things.
I honestly didn't line it up with the
Yeah.
RFP, to be honest with you. And I know Ms. Reed and Mr. Gray did a great job of working on the traffic safety piece of it. Because, you know, the honest truth is, a traffic analysis is typically level of service, length of trip time. Am I gonna sit at an intersection for 13 seconds or 14 seconds? As opposed to, did somebody get killed in that intersection? I found out about that as a very young man when a neighbor got picked off at an intersection that didn't have stop signs, and that's where I learned about this. The Van Ness report talks about, and this is on page 9, pedestrian and bicycle facilities. There's a sidewalk on Sandy Pond Road, so we counted that. There's no sidewalks on Snake Hill, so there's no pedestrians. There's no cycling infrastructure on these roads, so we didn't talk about that and include it in our study. I think that's a deficiency in the study, and I would like to see that, you know, the multimodal non-vehicular traffic gets included in that. And again, this is in no order, so I'm just gonna make sure I kind of, and yeah, I was ready to go with this one.
So Jeff, you know, what I would ask is, could this be a conversation with Mark about the RFP, just like what needs
It's
to
a
be
quick
included?
one.
Okay.
It's a quick one. And then I would bring that up because, and you know, the factors of seasonality and stuff like that. Again, recognizing that the traffic that comes from that section of our town travels not through the main arterials in our town out of choice because we live here and we know how to get there quicker. That is a major intersection that's missing in the whole study, and I know it's in your piece. I'm happy to work with Mark on this, and I know Mr. Reed, Mr. Gray and Ms. Reed worked on it with him before, and I think it's probably complete. I just didn't line them up.
Well, so it's worth a little bit of time to go through your concerns and make sure that everything I have in my RFP from last October is addressed before we get it out.
I can't imagine we would remove anything from
Because
the
once we
RFP.
send it out, it's too late.
Exactly.
So my feeling that, my question is, are we ready to authorize Mark to send out the RFP to get a contract, or does it need a little further work and we vote on it?
Maybe a little further work.
Let me
Jeff,
put my head down and read through it quickly.
All right, so we're not going to vote on that tonight then?
Well,
no, I'd like to
it
move
might
on
be
to
good
tonight.
to authorize.
I was going to say, can we authorize it in light of any, okay.
Right.
So would it, yeah, I think that would be appropriate. So, yeah, I'd entertain a motion.
Can I just,
Jeff
can you
wanted
go on
a
to the
minute,
next thing and
so-
give me a chance to read a couple pages to make sure that the current.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
couple of
okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Mark, if we're looking down the list,
Yep.
I think we can, number 2, 3, I think we skipped that. Is there anything else that we think we can advance to this evening? Anything else on your list?
Well, one thing I wanted to let everybody know is I am working with Dan Van Schalkwyk to finalize the RFP for the engineering review, which should include The issues that were raised today about the water and the sewer impacts of the whole neighborhood, and whether the water and sewer lines can, that will go into the engineering RFP, but that will take a little more work since that's not quite as final.
Are you anticipating an engineering impact review now or on the definitive plan?
For the definitive plan,
Right.
we want to get it
the
ready.
RFP ready.
We want to get it ready before
Contents
the end of this,
okay,
correct?
right. But you
Right.
won't issue that because that'll be on the definitive plan when they have a full set of
Right.
drawings and details.
Yes.
Whatever
Yes.
else, and specifications
Right.
and so forth.
Yeah, so by August, it would be great if we had the RFP for the engineering RFP ready to go out so that when they submit the definitive plan, we're ready to go right off the bat.
Okay.
But the more crucial one right now is the traffic study,
Agreed.
obviously.
All right.
I'm getting there, Mr. Vance.
All right.
Jeff, we could meet one-on-one,
I think you actually
Right off.
I think you captured most of it, to be honest with you.
He just needs to add the multi-mode. I think it's all.
Yeah,
I would just expand it
actually
to
mark
be-
it up a little bit, I'll,
Okay.
send me something in the morning. or
With
whatever.
the board's permission,
Please.
I'm happy to I'm happy to move forward with that.
That's fine.
And you guys will loop in any changes to
Really,
Mr. Collins and,
We're gonna spend the money, let's spend it and get all done.
okay, good.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Collins.
just
You're nodding,
perfect.
so I'm assuming you're
That's just
jiggy
fine.
with this.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, am I ready to take a vote to approve that we can authorize Mr.
Authorize me to send out the RFP.
A motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask Mark to engage a third-party reviewer for doing a traffic study for the project.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Seconded.
Seconded? Any discussion?
I'd like to amend the motion to include that the RFP will be double-checked with Jeff for any conditions he may need to be added to the RFP before it goes out.
Is that amendment acceptable to the motions?
Absolutely, exited is friendly.
Beautiful.
Still got a second?
Seconded again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
As amended.
As amended?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It's unanimous. You are now authorized. What do I need to do to close this portion of the meeting for the
Tell us when you want to see us again.
next week? Next meeting,
Well,
July.
the next meeting,
week.
I believe, is July 12th.
12th.
It's the second Tuesday of the month,
The
whatever
12th.
that is.
Yeah, I believe it's July 12th.
Okay.
Mr. Collins?
Sounds
So we'll
perfect.
just continue the public meeting until July 12th.
We will continue the public meeting until July 12th. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
And thank you so much. You've been very generous with your time, really.
We just have a few quick things to go through. The site visit to Air Solar 2.
Little break.
Oh, okay, yeah, good.
Is that the next thing on the agenda?
A break?
No, is that, what's the next on the
Do you
agenda?
need us for any of this? No.
No. No, you're
Okay,
free.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course, I'm sorry. Is it just, doesn't need anything special, just take it out?
Yeah, you could just pull it up. I mean, usually they tell you not to do that. Morning.
Okay, so since that discussion of SO2 is on the agenda, I have to recuse myself.
Oh, okay.
Can we handle other business before, or are we gonna get it quickly done here?
Let's, maybe we could do the other business first. Can we do that, even though, can we change the order of the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion that we change the order so we can include Mr. Diskin in the rest of the meeting.
Yeah, let's wait to the, yes.
So we second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. It's unanimous, we're gonna do that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, so skip the meeting minutes. I'm not ready to
You can go
deal with it
in the
next.
room.
Any old business, new business?
I have an issue under old, and as I was traveling,
I have an issue under old business for a currently happening OSRD here in town, off-site work. Chicken Mill Pond is in the process of being built out. As you know, they put in a connect to our wastewater system, underground and up the hill onto Snake Hill Road. And as I was coming around the corner today on Snake Hill Road, I almost didn't pay enough attention not to miss the depression. The asphalt that they put in, typically when you patch a road, it recedes. The receding that's happening at the downhill end of Snake Hill Road has become quite pronounced. So I would like to see if we can't write a letter. I would propose that we write a letter to Mr. Aho, that we ask him that when he is back in, and we talk to coordinate with DPW, and that we ask them that when they come back to town to do the final top coat way back in on the road over there and the driveways, that they also repatch the work on Snake Hill Road. They were responsible for the directional drilling, and I think one of the patches just has failed.
So would that require a letter to Mr. Aho from the town planner?
Communicate with, I'm not sure exactly what it does, but I would ask Mark if we can. Why don't you give Dan a call, DPW a call, and find out what it requires.
Do we need a formal vote to authorize that?
Can you show me, or is it easy to see?
I can show you exactly where it is. I'll do it on, I didn't take a picture of it because I was doing a time trial.
But is it right at the entrance?
So when you come across, it's not on, that's 2A, is it?
Shaker Road.
2A. It's when you...
Littleton Road.
Exactly.
Right.
When you travel Littleton Road, you either go left or right onto the terminus of Snake Hill. Right there, you can see where they dug the hole for the directional drilling.
Okay, yeah.
It goes up the hill, so there's 1, 2, 3 places.
Yep.
The patch at the top, pristine. The other 2 patches are beginning to fail. This one's failing because this gets all the traffic. All the turning traffic on and off that road is this one. So I would just make a request that before that project gets final sign-off, we ask them to touch it up.
So do we need a vote to authorize, or just ask Mark? Could you send?
Mark.
Yeah, Mark. Can
Yeah,
you do that?
I'll contact Dan. And,
I saw it this afternoon. That's why
I'd like to
mentioned it
see
now.
this though, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe I'll
I'll meet you there.
out
If you want to just drive out,
Sure.
let's meet you for a hot dog.
Yeah.
Where's the hot dog?
Any other old business, new business?
I have one thing for, actually it's under the administrative thing, which is development project updates, so I'll wait for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if there are no old business, new business, it's going to go to development project updates.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to development project updates. What do you got?
Well, the big one is, of course, Air Solar 2. I have not yet contacted Cataldo to arrange that because it's been, but I want to do that very soon so we can get out there too. So that's, yeah.
There's one other one that we haven't ever talked about. Interestingly enough, that's the high school improvement for the field, which was a site plan.
You want to see
It was
that
approved
one?
by us.
I've been checking out by drone.
Yeah, we've been looking at
online.
it. Does it rise to the level of us taking an inspection?
No, we could. And it's town property. We can just, it school's out, right? So we could just
Yeah,
go
and
out.
actually they're operating 7 to 7. They're flying.
So
through
would you
that.
guys would like a site walk?
So a site visit to the school.
I think it would be nice to set up a site visit
The
because
athletic field.
we did talk a lot about the retaining wall in the back.
Yes.
and some other stuff.
Yes.
Right, so those key things that we talked about to see how
Would
to
it
be
be, do
constructed.
you think it would be obnoxious to ask if Dan could come out to explain the engineering, or is that too much to ask?
We got the plan. We can do it.
We have the plans and
Yeah.
their site guys.
All right, I just threw that out there, that's fine.
If I may, we've been doing site walks on Thursday mornings.
Do you like that or not like it?
I'm going to ask the board's forgiveness at some point, maybe in about 2 weeks, but it looks like my Thursdays will be away.
We'll do a different day then.
Okay, that's all I'm
I
just
don't have a
asking.
problem with that, we'll figure that out.
But for the next one, let's set it up.
Okay. Anything else before we get to Solar 2? Or we,
I think.
no? Did you want to recuse yourself?
We have to,
Mr. Diskin is recusing himself because he's an abutter to Solar 2, so that's what's going on here.
Does he have to come back?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have to come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, come back? All right,
Okay.
so someone has to go get
But he
him.
left
So
all
what's
the
up
stuff.
with Air Solar 2?
Well, we took a site visit there, and it looks like, they may not have followed the original, or the,
All right, so-
the most recent approval, so we all think.
Look,
Yeah.
there are issues. I'm just going to say them out loud. The road is not built to the plan. The engineers acknowledged that on the sidewalk, because we were accompanied by engineers.
The infrastructure that was supposed to be in place before the road was built was never completed.
It was
never
never
actually
completed.
begun.
So the idea, the logic, the initial logic was, of course, you would have the road appropriately constructed so that any of the vehicles to do the actual electrical work wouldn't create much of a disturbance. But we have this odd situation where the electrical work is almost done and the road is nowhere near complete. And it's quite obvious that the retention wall, that's part of the plans, is not going to be part of the work. They have to come back to us. The engineers are going to come back to us, the applicant engineers, with a revised plan. But I just wanted to acknowledge just the fact the fact that the road design does not conform to our original understanding. On the plus side, that is one darn strong culvert, and pretty impressive. And obviously, they've made an extraordinary amount of progress on the electrical part, the panels, wires, telephone poles. The reason I emphasize telephone poles, it's rather unusual to put the poles up before the roads are down, and the storm water work is finished, but that's what they did, and that's what we're dealing with. So I think what I see is that, as Desi would say to Lucy, there's a lot of splaining to do. And we anticipate them coming before us, and we have a lot to talk about.
So I'm going to add a comment, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Ayer Solar 2 was a plan that came to the planning board, a project that came to the planning board prior to everyone in this room but me.
Right.
One of the things that the chair at the time remembered to do was to add a covenant to it. They can't turn the switch on and pull electricity off that property until it's approved, final approval through building.
Thank goodness.
So, it's a difficult project to get money. We couldn't get surety from them because there's no money. Okay, we got enough money to take it down from them.
Yeah.
So decommission it. But because it's not a public road, there was no surety for the road.
Right.
And now I'm going to speak hypothetically for a moment, okay? I'm not going to speak officially. It's like you came home and you found out the kids painted the room. It's a mess, but the room's painted.
Exactly.
And you know what? The decisions they made are probably not bad decisions. Conservation was with us on the walk. I was not at Conservation's meeting Thursday evening. I don't know what they've decided to do about it. I'm not asking anybody in the room who may or may not have been here with Conservation. And so they got splaining to do to Conservation.
Yes, they do.
And they got splaining to do to us.
Lots of splaining.
So
some of it's COVID related, some of it's they had an on-site guy who just did what he wanted to do.
Can we cut to the chase?
Cut to the chase. We didn't build it. They didn't build the road the way it was put on the plans. They realized that with compaction they could get away without building a huge retaining wall.
Yeah.
So the question is, in a wild place, do we put in a man-made structure or just compact the road?
Right.
So what they did is they changed the pitch. They spoke to public safety to make sure a fire engine can get in there.
Right.
And they made an on-site choice.
Okay, but
Now, we could insist upon the road, but it would require them to, it's really interesting what they've done. And how do I feel about it? I mean, quite honestly, I don't really want that retaining wall, but I want them to bring soil in. I don't want them to leave it the mess it is.
So,
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let Nathan speak.
Yeah.
can we authorize a letter so that we know that the developer is aware that they must come back to the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could, but I think they are planning to do that. I mean, at least
well, we should.
What do you think?
I want to.
If I may, Nathan, I think Mark, the planner, should reach out and find out when they're going to be here.
That's it. How is that acceptable,
When are you
Nathan?
planning to do
When
that?
will you
Let's
be
get
here?
when will you be here?
Yeah.
Yeah, just ask them to come to us.
Just
That's the right way.
Having sat in that seat for a while,
Let's
you ask
start-
the question.
That's the
Start
right
there,
way.
but we were talking about planning and hoping and
Yeah.
problems, but let's put some concrete to it.
No, I
Good.
totally get it.
I agree
But
with you. Let's do that.
And-
So we'll
and-
have them
Rohit.
to address these issues directly.
In
Yes.
fact, remember when we originally scheduled a site visit for mid-July, when
Yeah.
Rohit got back?
Yeah, maybe.
We could still hold that.
Like July 12th?
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
that might
It's-
have been
Might be
the
tight.
We're going to need plans that
Yeah.
reflect what's there.
I know, that's the
And
thing.
one of the upsets is the stormwater work hasn't been done yet,
Yep.
and they are doing kind of a, how do I say it, as-built. Some of the challenges on the property with ledge and stuff is what, I mean,
They have enough discoveries that they can put together now a as-built drawing
Yeah.
Yes. we need that.
99%
Yep.
surety that they're gonna hit it.
The problem is stopping them doesn't make sense.
Right, that's the issue.
Right.
So,
Anything
And
else on it?
some of what they claimed on the site looked, to me, I'm not an erosion expert, but I mean, that steep slope when you first come in, that steep slope to
It
the
needs to be
left.
reinforced.
Yeah.
They did talk about how
I
they
wonder about
reinforce
that.
it.
Maybe they're right.
The kids today say
They're
sus.
engineers. Huh?
You say sus now.
So let's,
Sus.
Oh, sus.
so
Okay,
look,
but all this
it's
is
it's
gonna
getting
get
late.
discussed, yeah.
I think that what we can agree on is that Mark will contact him and say, hey, when you guys come, we'd like to see you in July, and come talk to us, and
And-
there's some
and-
issues we gotta resolve.
And as always, get whatever they're gonna bring to us beforehand so we can take a look at it.
Yes, I'm
Not
thank
a
you for that.
presentation of what they wanna think about, but.
No, okay, good. Could,
Thank
Julie,
you.
could you ask Ken to come back in? Okay.
Clerk's got his.
You are iron people, you're making it out to the bitter end.
Yeah.
That is impressive in itself.
That means the end is coming.
All right. Mr. Diskin, so is there any other, I think we covered all the business, right?
Well, I think so, yeah.
Heck,
Yeah.
yeah.
Discussion, development projects update, meeting minutes we've deferred, we talked old business, new
Yeah,
business.
I think we're
I'm looking at a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded?
What was that, Julie?
That was seconded.
Seconded, and that's it, meeting adjourned, right? Do I don't even have to?